Chapter 98. When Xiaopingan and Guowei left the Gao family's manor, there were twice as many police cars parked outside. There was even a team of special police. They had been investigating the scene, but now they were searching. Even if it was just for show, it was impossible for Chief Su to be completely indifferent to everything he saw and heard in the meeting room. In addition to the Gao family's manor, Chief Su had already sent a team of police to the Gao family's mine to investigate and collect evidence. Once the mine incident could be confirmed, it would be clear whether the other things were true or false. The laws of the Fire Country did indeed stipulate that the magical abilities of summoners and awakened ones could not be used as effective evidence in court, such as the mind-reading ability of awakened ones. However, the laws of the Fire Country did not stipulate that the magical abilities of summoners and awakened ones could not be used as effective clues to solve cases. It's really hard to look straight at a wealthy family like the Gao family after lifting the lid. I didn't expect them to be so rotten, dirty, and unscrupulous. Guowei drove while quietly sizing up Xiaopingan, who was sitting in the front passenger seat. A trace of reverence rose in his heart for Xiaopingan. The secret technique to make the table speak was really shocking. No amount of tanks or cannons could compare to that ability. Just that little secret technique had almost completely destroyed the Gao family's connections and network in Ezhou province that they had operated for decades, completely pushing the Gao family into the abyss. This was something that tanks and cannons could not do. Previously, there might have been some people who felt sorry for what had happened to the Gao family and wanted to pursue the matter. Now, those who were related to the Gao family should be preparing to completely cut ties with them. There were many police officers in the meeting room just now, including Chief Su. Everything that happened in the meeting room could not be kept a secret, and it would probably spread throughout Ezhou province very soon. Concealing the mine accident and killing people in the mine might not push the entire Gao family into the abyss, but murdering a summoner of the Committee of Order and making a deal with the demon were definitely taboos. Any one of these four things could consign the Gao family to eternal damnation. The Gao family was completely dead in the officialdom of Ezhou province, and no one wanted to have anything to do with the Gao family anymore. However, what was the thing that the Gao family mentioned in the meeting room just now? Why did Mu Qingshan say, killing one is also killing, killing two is also killing? There seemed to be other summoners involved in the Gao family's incident, but no one knew who exactly was involved. Guowei had questions in his heart, but he didn't ask them. Perhaps these things were no longer important. Even after he left the Gao clan, he still felt that what had happened in the Gao clan today was too unbelievable. The 2 realm pearls that Xiaopingan used before he used his secret technique were actually provided by the Gao clan. The Gao clan wanted to find the culprit, but they didn't expect to find him. Xiaopingan, who was sitting in the car, also heaved a long sigh of relief. The matter of the Gao family had finally come to an end. Killing the head of the Gao family did not count as destroying the Gao family. The secret technique in the conference room was the one that completely destroyed the Gao family. Where are we going now? Xiaopingan let out a long sigh and looked away from the car. To the Army's logistics department, Guowei replied. More than 40 minutes later, Guowei brought Xiaopingan to the logistics department. The logistics department was just a short name. The real name of this place was the 87th Legion's Logistics and Equipment Department's Special Equipment Management Department. This was the place where special personnel of the 87th Legion were provided with all kinds of strange, special items and equipment. The realm pearls obtained by the Legion would also be gathered here and handed over to the military. The logistics department was located in a small airport in the suburbs of Xinchuan City that had been requisitioned. The airport could take off and land small airplanes and helicopters. There was also a regiment of troops stationed next to the airport. After explaining the purpose of their visit, a major in the logistics department straightforwardly handed over 2 boxes, one big and one small, to Xiaopingan. We have received orders from the Legion commander. The big box contains the 2 realm pearls. The small box contains the identity badges of the 87th Legion's priests. The Army's priests' uniforms have to be made after measuring them. They can be done by tomorrow. Thank you. Xiao Pingan nodded and received the 2 boxes. You're welcome. The Special Decoration Department is very happy to be able to provide our army's priest with the things he needs. We've already heard about the Requiem ceremony at the stadium this morning. Our brothers all left very well and went to heaven one by one. The brothers of the 87th Division are very grateful to Priest Xia. If you need anything in the future, feel free to look for me. A major in the Special Decoration Department said to Xia Pingan seriously. I'm just doing what I should do. Xia Pingan didn't expect the news of the Requiem ceremony at the stadium this morning to have already spread throughout the 87th Legion in such a short time. He was treated with courtesy as soon as he arrived. He had a great harvest today. He had just merged with 2 realm pearls of the Gao family. He didn't expect to obtain 2 more here. He had obtained 4 realm pearls in a day. This had broken his record for obtaining realm pearls. Is there anything else you need? The major in the logistics department asked considerately. By the way, do you have any handguns here? I lost my previous one. I need a new one now. Xiao Pingan asked. Handguns? The 2 officers looked at each other and laughed. He actually asked the logistics department if they had any handguns. Wasn't this the same as asking if there were any trees in the forest, or if there was water when he saw the Dragon King? Haha, we don't have much here, but we have enough guns. The major in the logistics department directly brought Xia Pingan to a storeroom. He asked someone to open the door of the storeroom and let them in. F***CK. The storeroom was basically a warehouse of special weapons and equipment. There were all kinds of standard and non-standard firearms and equipment. It was a dazzling sight. Xia Pingan also saw the familiar figure of the Manuel MR98 among the firearms. I'll take this, Xia Pingan said to Major Yinjia. The MR98 here did not have an optical scope on its silver body. It looked a lot simpler, but it was also more practical. This Manuel MR98 has a lot of fans in the fire country. Although it's not a standard handgun issued by the military, 50 Magnum bullets can be found in many places. By the way, do you need any special modifications to this handgun? No need. Just give me a few hundred more silver bullets. After leaving the logistics department, Guowei brought Xia Pingan back to the Xinchuan City Stadium where the Requiem ceremony had taken place in the morning. The stadium's surroundings had been turned into a military encampment. The 87th Legion's headquarters and the Legion Hospital were nearby. The 87th Legion arranged a dormitory for Xia Pingan in a newly requisitioned residential area near the stadium. The residential area was filled with newly built row houses. The houses hadn't been fully renovated yet. Only windows and doors had been installed, and water and electricity had been connected. Only a small part of the renovation was completed before it was requisitioned by the army. Although the living conditions weren't very good, it was still better than living in a tent. Moreover, it was close to the stadium. Once they stepped out, they would be in the military encampment. In the future, the Requiem ceremony would be held in the stadium. It was more convenient to go to work. According to the regulations, Xia Pingan, as the Legion's priest, was assigned 2 bodyguards to be responsible for Xia Pingan's security and duties. Guowei said the bodyguards would be on duty tomorrow morning. After settling Xia Pingan down, Guowei left. He still had to report to Tang Guofeng about the Gao family. After a busy day, Xia Pingan could finally relax. It wasn't until Guowei left that Xia Pingan remembered that he hadn't eaten yet. After fusing with the 2 realm beads at the Gao family's residence, Xia Pingan was starving. Xia Pingan looked around the house and only saw 3 big boxes of military-kin food, 1 box of fruits, 1 box of dried vegetables, and 1 box of beef in the simple kitchen. After eating 3 cans of food and being full, Xia Pingan finally had time to study the realm beads he had just received. After returning to the bedroom with a camp bed and a sleeping bag on the floor, Xia Pingan opened the box containing the realm beads he had received from the logistics department. There were 2 realm beads in the box. One was gray and one was black. Both of them were flashing with a faint light. Inside the black realm bead, the light surged like waves. 2 divine runes were bobbing up and down inside the realm bead. Every second, divine runes would appear and disappear. Upon closer inspection, the 2 divine runes were actually 2 words, You the Great. Chapter 99. At the sight of this realm bead, Xiao Pingon became spirited. He had read the information about this realm bead before. This realm bead was the most important realm bead for summoners to master water-based summoning skills. Water-based summoning skills were like water, ever-changing. The essence of water-based summoning skills depended on one's will. This realm bead was the foundation of water-based summoning skills. The death rate of fusing with this realm bead was very low. However, the success rate was very high. Therefore, this realm bead was very popular among summoners. It was one of the most popular realm beads. However, no one had ever heard of a perfect fusion with this realm bead of Yu the Great since ancient times. After putting down this realm bead and taking a look at that gray realm bead, Xiao Pingon didn't know whether he should cry or laugh. That gray realm bead was a turncoat strike, which could summon slave soldiers. He had already fused with it. As this realm bead was useless to him now, he could only deal with it in the future. After checking the realm bead, Xiao Pingon opened another smaller box. After opening the box, Zhang Tai saw a pure gold badge in the shape of a pentagram. The words 87th Legion were written below the pure gold badge. In the middle of the badge, there was a symbol of two crossed swords clamping a soul-calming banner. This badge was the symbol of the priest of the 87th Legion. As long as he wore it, all the others would know that he was the priest of the 87th Legion. Xiao Pingon had experienced many things today, and there should be nothing else for him to do now. Xiao Pingon thought about it, and took out the world pearl that Yu the Great had used to control the flood, and started to fuse with it. Thunders flashed across the sky like dragons while heavy rain poured down from the sky. The moment Xiao Pingon opened his eyes, he found that he was standing on the top of a mountain. He had been drenched all over. The world below the mountain had been flooded. As far as the eye could see, it was drizzling and foggy. Numerous Huayus were standing behind Zhang Tai from one mountaintop to another. All of them looked sorrowful and hopeless. In addition to those Chinese youths, there were also giants standing behind him, whose faces were also filled with despair. Other than the giants, there were also countless strange beasts controlled by humans on the mountain. Amidst the silence, there was some movement at the foot of the mountain. There was a man standing on the back of a strange beast that looked like an ox or a flood dragon. He was not afraid of the sea at all. He cut through the waves and directly crossed the water from afar. When he reached the foot of the mountain, he jumped off the strange beast in the water. He held a jade token high above his head and rushed to the top of the mountain as fast as lightning. The crowd began to stir. The emissary of Emperor Shun is here. The emissary of Emperor Shun is here. The crowd exclaimed and looked at the newcomer in awe. Wherever that person went, the countless youths and giants standing behind Xiao Pingon made way for him. That person rushed straight to where Xiao Pingon was before stopping. You received the order. As soon as that person opened his mouth, his voice was majestic and thunderous. The entire crowd on the mountaintop and the hillside all knelt down. The giant also knelt down, and the strange beasts also knelt down one by one. Xiao Pingon also knelt down. You, your father, Marquis Chong, have been trying to control the flood for 9 years. It's been a lot of effort, but it was all in vain. Today, the embankments collapsed and the rivers flooded. The Central Plains became a swamp country. Countless creatures were killed. Marquis Chong's crime is unforgivable. He has been sentenced to death by Emperor Shun on Feather Mountain. Emperor Shun orders you to continue to control the flood. Don't let down the people in the world. You receive the order. Xiao Pingon raised both of his hands and took over the jade token. The emissary of Emperor Shun then left. When he reached the foot of the mountain, he stood on the back of the strange beast that looked like an ox or flood dragon and crossed the water, disappearing into the vast swamp country. Although the emissary of Emperor Shun had left, the flood control army on the mountain was still in a gloomy mood. They had been trying so hard to control the flood for 9 years. But in the end, all their efforts were in vain. Many people looked at the vast swamp country and felt a bit desperate. They didn't know how to stop the flood. Xiao Pingon was standing on a huge rock at the top of the mountain, holding the token of Emperor Shun high. Looking at those flood control army, he used all of his strength to roar in the storm. 15 years. Give me another 15 years. I will definitely find a way to quell this flood. Today, I swear to the heavens and earth that if I can't quell this flood within 15 years, I will kill myself by slamming my head into the mountain as an apology to the people of the world. Among the crowd, people remained silent. Then, someone roared, "Stop the flood! Stop the flood! Even if we have to die, we will stop the flood." Slowly, one voice turned into 10 voices, then into 100 voices. In the end, only one voice resounded across the entire mountain. "Stop the flood." This voice completely covered the thunder in the sky. At this moment, a golden snake swooped down from the sky and was about to land on Xia Pinggan's head. However, a guard beside Xia Pinggan with a huge axe suddenly leaped up and chopped that golden snake into pieces. Then, the guard landed steadily on the ground. No one was surprised by this. Xia Pinggan swallowed his saliva. Suppressing the shock in his heart, he continued loudly, "We used wrong methods to stop the flood. We want to stop the flood. But think about it. Can we stop the flood? We've been trying to stop the flood for 9 years. It rains every year. If we stop the flood, the more it rains, the more water we can stop. It's like a bowl of water. When the bowl is full, you keep adding more water. How can the water not overflow?" Hearing this simple logic, everybody understood it at once. "If we can't stop the flood, what should we do?" Someone asked at once. "I've observed over the past few years. The further west we go, the higher the terrain. The further east we go, the lower the terrain. There's the sea in the east, and the water will flow from the higher ground to the lower ground. As long as we can connect the rivers and mountains and let the water flow to the lower ground and into the sea, we can completely solve the flood problem." The golden snake danced wildly in the sky, but it couldn't drown out Xia Pinggan's voice. More and more people's eyes lit up. Their expressions became resolute. "Not only do we have to stop the flood so that our descendants won't have to suffer from the flood, but we also have to find a way to turn the flood into a benefit for the common people. Stop the flood." Xia Pinggan looked at the torrential flood at the foot of the mountain. His mind was still in the clouds. People only knew that you the Great stopped the flood by diverting the water into the sea and stopping the flood in Huaxia. However, they didn't know that you the Great's way of stopping the flood might not be so simple. Xia Pinggan had studied history for many years in his previous life. After all kinds of research, he always had a bold guess in his heart. You the Great led countless ancestors and talented people of Huaxia to do great things when the world was flooded. In China, you the Great used the heaven and earth as his Taoist field, the mountains and lakes as his chess pieces, and the ability to change the heaven and earth. He used the flood to set up a peerless feng shui formation to protect the descendants of Huaxia for generations. You the Great used Hengze Lake as the vermilion bird, Taihu Lake as the Xuanwu, Dongting Lake as the azure dragon, and Panyang Lake as the white tiger. He turned the 4 lakes into the 4 sacred beasts. He used the feng shui formation of the 4 sacred beasts and the 9 cauldrons to protect Huaxia. The person who fused with this realm pearl might be able to divert the water into the sea and stop the flood, but they would never be able to recreate you the Great's true power. This was why no one had ever been able to perfectly fuse with this realm pearl. If his previous guess and research were correct, then if he followed that train of thought to stop the flood, other than diverting the water into the sea, he would also have to set up the feng shui formation of the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and Xuanwu in the 4 lakes of Huaxia to turn the flood into benefits. Only then would he be able to perfectly fuse with this realm pearl. The legend of the Great Flood in human history was not just a legend. The story of you the Great's flood control was also not a story. Many myths were not myths. Time flew by. 2 months had passed since Xia Pinggan became the Legion Priest of the 87th Legion. In the past 2 months, several major events had happened in Yizhou Province. One was the exposure of the Gao family. The Gao family's assets, such as mines and companies, were confiscated by the Yizhou Provincial Military Control Committee, which caused quite a stir in Yizhou Province. The Gao family, which had once been famous in the Yizhou Province, had completely come to an end after the strange murder case. The entire family had vanished into thin air in just a few days and was tore apart. In such a tense situation, the Gao family's misfortune was quickly forgotten except for some rumors. This was because in this era, more important things were happening one after another. It was too much for people to deal with. The Gao family's misfortune was just a small wave in the country of Great Yan at most. The second thing that happened in Izhou province was that two new permanent space cracks appeared in Qianlong mountain range. One of them was in the underground rock cave of Qianlong mountain range. Inside and outside Izhou province, the situation in and outside Izhou province in the Great Fire country didn't improve at all. Instead, it rapidly deteriorated. The rapidly deteriorating situation made the governments and military of various countries unable to cope with it. The situation in various places was becoming increasingly difficult to control. In Asia, as an island country, the space invasion in Japan was completely out of control. A national refugee tide had already appeared in Japan. All the ships and planes leaving Japan were filled with refugees. In Africa, numerous magic fire spiders and magic liquid spiders rushed out of the Sahara Desert. More and more African countries were completely out of control and entered a state of anarchy. In Europe, the magic spirit tide surged in the British Isles again. On September 27th, due to the situation in Paris being out of control, the French government had to withdraw from Paris and prepare to move to the Doomsday Bunker in France. Due to the leak of the evacuation plan, when the French government and personnel were evacuated from Paris, they were stopped by the protesters in Paris. Millions of angry Parisians flooded the highways and airports, causing all the airports and highways in and out of Paris to be paralyzed. Finally, a fierce conflict broke out between them and the French military and police forces that maintained order in Paris, resulting in a tragedy. The conflict caused thousands of casualties. There was also a shocking piece of news that spread around the world. It was said that on the evening of August 15th, when the Russian military was attacked by fire meteorites in various Russian cities, they had already launched several missiles carrying hydrogen warheads into the space cracks above the Eurasian continent. The moment the hydrogen warheads entered the space cracks, they detonated, but didn't seem to have any effect. Regardless of whether this news was true or not, it was still frightening. In various parts of the Southern Light continent, due to the outbreak of the zombie virus brought by the demon rats, millions of refugees from various countries broke through the Fire country's border control in order to avoid the disaster and space invasion, all of them surging into the Fire country. In the Yi province, the number of invading creatures coming out of the Thousand Dragon Mountain range was increasing. Every part of the Yi province didn't stop. Coupled with the increase in the number of sudden spatial invasions, the gunshots and cannons inside and outside Xinchuan City started ringing again at the beginning of September. Every day, more and more invading creatures rushed out of the two permanent spatial rifts in Xinchuan City. The pressure on the 87th Legion was increasing. The water and electricity supply in Xinchuan City slowly became tense. There were frequent power outages in the city, and long queues started to form at the water supply places. Even with the implementation of military control, panic buying continued to break out in Xinchuan City, and the public security situation became more and more severe. The recruits were undergoing intensive training, and the militia was established. There were more and more people carrying guns on the streets, and the control of guns was further relaxed. As long as one was a citizen of the Fire country and didn't have a criminal record, one could now purchase hunting rifles, pistols, and other self-defense weapons from the military's gun shops. The city became more and more dangerous, and the resources in the city became more and more scarce. Under these circumstances, many residents who originally lived in the city left Xinchuan City in large batches with the tacit approval and support of the Military Control Committee. They drove off-road caravans or pickup trucks and brought seeds, food, wilderness survival tools, and hunting rifles to take refuge in the sparsely populated areas. The Fire country was vast and sparsely populated. At this time, leaving the city became a wise choice for many people. Mo Yin Xiao, Tu Polu, Chao Xinghua, and LV Na were conscripted into the E Province Demon Suppression Guard and transferred to Xinchuan. They only had a quick meeting with Xia Pinggan before they began to carry out the missions given by the 87th Legion. They worked with the military's special forces to eliminate the invading creatures in the Thousand Dragon Mountain Range. Xia Pinggan, who had become the chief priest of the 87th Division, did not relax for many days in this position. From the end of August onwards, the requiem ceremonies he presided over became more and more frequent. By the middle of September, it had become once every 2 days. Why was it held every 2 days? Because as the battle became more and more intense, more and more soldiers were sacrificed. The mortuary of the hospitals and mortuaries in Xinchuan City could only hold a limited number of bodies. After 2 days, there would be no more space in the mortuary, and the bodies would have to be cremated. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a place to put the new bodies, and they would rot. Under these circumstances, Xia Pinggan's divine power was rapidly depleted. He used at least 32 points of divine power each time to requiem the souls of at least several hundred soldiers. After Xia Pinggan's divine power was completely depleted, he could only rely on the rank 1 Xunli Dan provided by the Legion to maintain his requiem ceremonies. As Xia Pinggan held more and more requiem ceremonies, Xia Pinggan's great name finally spread throughout the entire E Province in a short 1 or 2 months. Almost everyone in E Province knew that the 87th Legion had a priest called Xia Pinggan whose requiem ceremonies were very powerful and had extraordinary effects. Every time Xia Pinggan performed a requiem ceremony, many soldiers from the 87th Legion would come to the stadium to bid farewell to their comrades with Xia Pinggan. Every time Xia Pinggan finished his requiem ceremony, everyone present would feel shocked from the depths of their hearts. It seemed that the souls of the sacrifice soldiers could really enter heaven during his requiem ceremony. In the eyes of the 87th Legion soldiers, Xia Pinggan had already become the most powerful and most respected summoner in the province. Xia Pinggan was the guardian of the 87th Legion soldiers. Due to the rapid deterioration of the situation, all parties hastened their actions. On the evening of the 26th of October, Xia Pinggan received news that his sister, Xia Ning, had already entered the first batch of evacuees from Shanghai City. She would be evacuated from Shanghai City on the evening of the 27th and entered Doomsday Bunker, codenamed Tianshou. 2 days before that, the first batch of people from Xinchuan City who entered Doomsday Bunker had already evacuated. On the 27th, Xia Pinggan took some time to return to Shanghai City from Xinchuan City to bid farewell to Xia Ning. Chapter 100. On the evening of October 27th, Shanghai City Airport. A large military transport plane, Kunpeng, with gray paint from the Great Fire Country's military, was parked on the tarmac, ready to take off. Kunpeng was the largest transport plane in the world. From the ground, Kunpeng was as tall as a 6-story building. Its body was 88 meters long, and its huge wings were a few meters longer than the body. It covered the entire tarmac and the grass around it. As a military aircraft, Kunpeng could airdrop a regiment of soldiers at a time. In the entire Shanghai City, there were about 1,800 people who were evacuated with Xia Ning tonight. Everyone was boarding the plane with their luggage from Kunpeng's open rear cabin. Many people were bidding farewell to their loved ones here. When boarding the plane, each person could not carry more than 50 kilograms of luggage. Xia Ning hugged Xia Pinggan and cried. Among these 1,800 people, there were officials, rich people, scientists, researchers, and military families. The identities of the people boarding the plane were very complicated. Xia Pinggan did not recognize many faces. He only remembered a few faces that often appeared on TV and media in Shanghai City. At this moment, those faces were also mixed in with the crowd. They boarded the plane with some panic and reluctance. At this time, how could they get tickets to enter Doomsday Bunker? They could only rely on their own abilities. Xia Pinggan could only take care of Xia Ning now. As for the others, he could not care so much for the time being. Xia Pinggan gently stroked Xia Ning's head and glanced at the sky. The moon was out, and it was a blood moon. The entire sky was a strange, dark red. In Shanghai City, There were faint sounds of cannonballs exploding. There were soldiers stationed around the airport. When you get there, take care of yourself. Don't worry about me, okay? Xiaopinggan reminded Xiaoning. Xiaoning raised his eyes that were red and swollen from crying. Brother, I know. When are you coming to find me? I'm a summoner. If I want to go, I can go at any time. Plus, I have the ability to protect myself. Xiaopinggan smiled. It's just that I can't leave now. By the way, did you buy the things I asked you to buy? I bought 30 kilograms and some jewelry. It's in the suitcase. Xiaoning whispered. Xiaoning was talking about gold. After Xiaopinggan gave her 10 million, Xiaopinggan asked her to buy 30 kilograms of gold and some gold jewelry in July before the Great Change. As a civilian, buying gold in troubled times was an eternal truth. Sure enough, in August, gold was no longer easy to buy in gold shops everywhere. Even the price of all kinds of gold jewelry and gold luxury goods had skyrocketed. After August 15th, when everyone came out of the fallout shelter, all the gold on the market was gone. Bank withdrawals and paper currency transactions were restricted by the Military Control Committee. Black markets were rampant in all the cities, and precious metals and barter were used for transactions. The plane will take off in 5 minutes. Everyone, please board as soon as possible. A soldier came out of the Kunping transport plane with a loudspeaker and shouted to the people on the tarmac. Go! Xiaopinggan suppressed his sadness and tried not to let his tears fall. He patted Xiaoning lightly. Brother, Tianshou City. Do you remember it? Xiaoning asked while crying. I'll remember it. Xiaopinggan nodded. Tianshou City was the code name of the doomsday bunker that Xiaoning wanted to go to. Xiaopinggan didn't know where it was exactly. Brother, I'll wait for you in Tianshou City. You must come. Don't lie to me, okay? Xiaoning, who was wearing a thick down jacket and carrying a large suitcase, walked to the end of the plane. She turned back and waved at Xiaopinggan with tears flowing down her face. Finally, she boarded the plane. 5 minutes later, Xiaopinggan had to leave the tarmac and return to the VIP lounge near the tarmac. Through the glass, he watched the huge plane slowly enter the runway from the tarmac. After a long glide, it jumped into the blood-red sky and disappeared bit by bit. Don't worry, Xiaoning is grown up. She can take care of herself. She learned a lot at the base these days. And Qing comforted him. Xiaopinggan hadn't seen Qing for a few months. Today, he took the time to return to Shanghai City to say goodbye to Xiaoning. Only then did he see Qing again. Compared to a few months ago, Qing's temperament was still so sunny and beautiful. It hadn't changed at all. The only thing that had changed was that Qing's clothes had changed into a summoner's black combat uniform. At the same time, Qing's hair had been cut short, making her look clean and neat. When are you returning to Xinchuan? Li Yunzhou asked. Li Yunzhou and Xiaopinggan also came to send Xiaoning off. Li Yunzhou's arm was comminuted and was seriously injured. Even now, he hadn't fully recovered. However, the situation was tense, so he had no choice but to come out and carry out his mission. I'm going back tonight. There's a requiem ceremony tomorrow. Xiaopinggan replied. I feel like the past few months are like a dream. How did you become the 87th Legion's priest in the blink of an eye? Now, even the people in Shanghai City know that the requiem ceremony held by the 87th Legion's priest has extraordinary effects. Li Yunzhou sighed. Everything had changed in the past few months. The one who had changed the most was actually Xiaopinggan. Half a year ago, Xiaopinggan was still a rookie. Who would have thought that in less than half a year, Xiaopinggan had already grown to such a level? Now, Li Yunzhou couldn't see the depth of Xiaopinggan's strength at all. He only felt that Xiaopinggan seemed to have become much stronger than before he left Xinchuan Demon Guard. Looking at the Legion's priest badge hanging on Xiaopinggan's chest, Li Yunzhou realized that he couldn't even be jealous of Xiaopinggan. This guy looked ordinary and harmless, but he was actually a monster. And Qing glanced at Li Yunzhou from the side and suddenly said, I remember that someone said that if Xiaopinggan could perfectly fuse with the Realm Pearl of God, someone would lick his shoes and call him master. Li Yunzhou coughed guiltily. Actually, he also suspected that Xiaopinggan had perfectly fused with the Realm Pearl of God. Otherwise, Xiaoping's Requiem banner wouldn't be so powerful and have such a shocking phenomenon. He guessed that Xiaopinggan didn't embarrass him back then because he didn't want to embarrass him. Li Yunzhou hurriedly changed the topic. Ahem, by the way, Lao Zhou has already modified your pickup truck for you. It's parked in the underground parking lot of the base. You could drive it back when you go back this time. Lao Zhou has already mentioned it many times. Putting aside the matter of the pickup truck, Xiaopinggan almost forgot that he had bought a second-hand pickup truck. However, that second-hand pickup truck had only been driven for 2 days before old Zhou picked it up and modified it. After that, he was transferred to the Demon Suppression Guard. In the past few months, he had not had the chance to see it again. Coincidentally, he took the 87th Legion's military plane to Xianghe to transport goods today. He could drive his pickup truck back to Xinchuan after a while. Okay, Xiaopinggan nodded. Then let's go back to the base first. When the three of them walked out of the airport, the soldiers stationed outside the airport saw the Legion priest badge hanging on Xiaopinggan's chest. They hurriedly saluted and looked at Xiaopinggan respectfully as he got into the car and left the airport. More than 40 minutes later, Xiaopinggan returned to the base of the Xianghe Committee of Order again. He saw his pickup truck again. However, that pickup truck had changed beyond recognition. Even Xiaopinggan couldn't recognize it. Previously, the pickup truck that Xiaopinggan drove was a four-wheeled one. At this moment, the pickup truck in front of him had become a six-wheeled one. Just this little change was enough to make people completely unable to recognize it. The entire car's shape had also been reborn. It had become angular, powerful, and domineering. The 4 exhaust pipes were like 4 fangs on both sides of the roof. The entire car looked like a black beast. Xiaopinggan walked to the front of the pickup truck and knocked on the guard of the pickup truck. He found that the pickup truck's body material had been changed to a high-strength super carbon fiber material. Xiaopinggan used to repair cars, so he was very familiar with these materials. Because super carbon fiber was expensive, it was usually only used in supercars. It not only reduced the weight of the car, but also provided super strong protection for the car. Not to mention other things, just the super carbon fiber material used in this car was many times more valuable than his previous second-hand pickup truck. This wasn't all. The black carbon fiber car was also covered with a layer of black composite explosion-proof armor. The explosion-proof armor also had a bulletproof coating. Just looking at the exterior of the car was enough to make one's jaw drop. He opened the door. The door was extremely thick, and the windows were thicker than Xiaopinggan's fist. There were 6 layers of bulletproof glass. The interior of the car was completely different from what Xiaopinggan had seen. Uncle Zhou, how much did it cost to modify this car? Xiaopinggan turned his head and asked Lao Zhou next to him. It didn't cost much. The modification materials cost a total of more than 5 million. Lao Zhou said calmly, the chassis, engine, gearbox, explosion-proof tires, suspension, seats, equipment, and exterior of the car have all been changed. This car's frame is not bad. After some modifications, it's still passable. I sealed the rear compartment and made a detachable, movable roof. It's safer. I also used part of the rear compartment space to add a larger auxiliary fuel tank. The rear compartment space has shrunk a little, but with the auxiliary fuel tank, it can run 1,400 kilometers with a full tank of fuel. Xiaopinggan scratched his head, slightly embarrassed. Lao Zhou said that the modification materials cost more than 5 million. That was definitely the cost of the materials, and it didn't include the cost of the craftsmanship. Uncle Zhou, I don't have that much money now. I still have a boundary pearl here. Why don't I give it to you to repay the debt first? Old Zhou glanced at Xiaopinggan. What do I need the realm bead for? Just do your job as the army's priest. The modification fees will be paid by the order committee. Count it as your equipment fee. Dynamo approved it a few months ago, so don't worry. If you want to thank me, when I'm gone, you can give me a requiem ceremony as well. Consider it as your thanks. In a storage box at the back of the car, I've placed some weapons that you might need. Chapter 101. After bidding farewell to Lao Zhou and Qing and the others, Xiaopinggan drove the car back to Xinchuan overnight. This car was so awesome that Xiaopinggan couldn't even recognize it. The seat in the driver's seat was like a sofa. It was very comfortable and packed well. When the six wheels of the car passed by the bumps and potholes on the road that were more than 20 centimeters high, the suspension of the car nimbly bounced a few times. In the car, there wasn't even much fluctuation in the car before it passed by steadily. The car drove on the highway at a speed of more than 200 kilometers, and the six wheels were firm and powerful. It was like a large piece of steel floating on the ground. There were very few vehicles on the highway. Xiaopinggan drove the six-wheeled pickup truck and sped all the way back to Xinchuan City from Xianghe in only 2 hours. Xiaopinggan had only left Xinchuan City for a few hours, and everything in the city was fine. However, at night, the sound of gunfire and explosions could still be heard coming from the two permanent spatial rifts in the city. From time to time, balls of fire could be seen on the ground in those two places like sparks in the dark night, illuminating the sky. In the beginning, the sound of gunfire and explosions coming from inside and outside the city was difficult for people to get used to. It felt like they were on a battlefield, but slowly, Xiaopinggan got used to it. He was still living in the half-finished room that had not been renovated. The army had assigned 2 guards to Xiaopinggan before, but after the 2 guards stayed by Xiaopinggan's side for half a month, Xiaopinggan was busy going back and forth between the gymnasium and his residence every day. It was basically equivalent to living in the barracks every day, so there was no need for 2 guards to protect him. After Xiaopinggan and Tang Guofeng realized that the army was short of manpower everywhere, his guards were transferred away. The power in the room was cut off again, but fortunately, there was water. Xiaopinggan took a cold shower and fell asleep with the sound of gunfire as his pillow. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Xiaopinggan was suddenly awakened by an unprecedented palpitating feeling. The palpitating feeling was so intense that it made one's hair stand on end. Xiaopinggan, who was still asleep, was suddenly awakened by cold sweat in just a few seconds. After waking up, Xiaopinggan gasped for breath and wiped the sweat on his forehead. He immediately went to the window and looked out. The night outside the window was as red as blood, and the gunfire in the city was still ringing. The palpitating feeling of danger came from the permanent spatial rift in the center of Xinchuan City. Using his remote vision ability, Xiaopinggan saw that the battle at the permanent spatial rift in the center of Xinchuan City was in full swing. From time to time, fiendish rats and fiendish spiders would rush out from the spatial rift. However, as soon as these space-invading creatures came out, they would immediately be torn to pieces by the crossfire arranged around the spatial rift. The 87th Division had set up a total of 3 layers of defense around the spatial rift. The closest layer of defense was the unmanned tracked vehicles on the ground near the spatial rift. The unmanned tracked vehicles on the ground were about the size of toy cars that children could drive. They were about 1 meter long and half a meter tall. They could be controlled from afar. The vehicles were equipped with all sorts of weapons, such as rocket launchers. When necessary, they could even self-destruct. These ground unmanned tracked vehicles could get very close to the spatial rift and finish off the invading creatures as soon as they came out from the spatial rift. 500 meters behind these ground unmanned tracked vehicles was a steel defensive line formed by tanks and armored vehicles. The tanks were hidden behind a 3-meter-tall defensive fortification. As soon as the invading creatures rushed out from the spatial rift and broke through the defensive line of unmanned tracked vehicles, the tanks and vehicles would open fire. Behind these tanks was a 3-dimensional defense network made up of all sorts of sturdy fortresses, bunkers, trenches, barbed wire fences, fortifications, and secret tunnels. The 87th Division had placed a full heavy armor division and a mixed mechanized infantry brigade in this small core area of a few square kilometers. There were almost 20,000 soldiers stationed here, layers upon layers of defense. The defensive perimeter around the spatial rift in the southwest of Xinchuan City was similar. It was also heavily guarded and impregnable. On this battlefield of a few square kilometers, the steel shards of various tanks and the flesh and blood of the invading creatures were mixed together. It was difficult to distinguish between them. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The creatures that came out from a spatial rift would at most be destroyed when they got close to the second defensive perimeter. The troops stationed around a spatial rift were firmly in control of the battlefield. However, Xiaopinggan felt his heart palpitating more and more intensely. Suddenly, without any warning, after a few demon rats were destroyed by the rocket launchers on the unmanned tracked vehicle battlefield, a pale white light abruptly appeared in the pitch-black spatial rift at the center of the city. That pale white light was particularly dazzling in the pitch-black spatial rift. This abnormal situation immediately alerted the surrounding defensive forces. The various weapons on the unmanned tracked vehicles on the ground near the spatial rift unconsciously aimed at the place where the white light appeared. The white light flashed. Suddenly, a translucent blood blob, wriggling like a maggot, drilled out from the white light. There were eyes everywhere on the translucent blood blob. It was very strange. The moment Xiaopinggan saw the blood blob, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him because it was impossible for that thing to come out of the spatial rift. It was the demon spirit of a phantom monster. The demon spirit of a phantom monster could only be found in the British Isles. It was the wave-like body of a phantom monster that had been baptized by nuclear weapons. It was very dangerous and terrifying. A phantom monster's demon spirit could affect and control several people within a certain range of space. It could possess people and cause them to have terrifying hallucinations. It could also devour and absorb the essence of the human body. This thing was the favorite of the members of the Demon Eyes. The member of the Demon Eyes killed by Xiaopinggan had this thing parasitized on him. How could this thing appear here? Only invading creatures from another world would come out of the spatial rift. This was common knowledge for countless years, and even children knew it. Demon spirits were the aberrations of the Bose-Einstein condensate produced by the creatures from another world in a specific environment. There were very few of these things, and they only existed on Earth. Why would the demon spirit of a phantom monster come out of the spatial rift? Perhaps it was not the demon spirit of a phantom monster, but just a space-invading creature similar to the demon spirit of a phantom monster. This thought flashed through Xiaopinggan's mind instantly. But reality shattered the little fantasy in Xiaopinggan's heart in the blink of an eye. After the translucent meatball, with eyes all over its body drilled out of the space fissure, it immediately flew towards the tanks and armored vehicles at the second line of defense in the distance like a hound that had smelled its prey. The unmanned tracked vehicles on the ground had already opened fire. Rockets and bullets rained down on the blob. A rain of bullets passed through the thing's body like passing through a cloud of smoke. It had no effect on the thing at all. The rocket exploded when it got close to the target. The flames, shrapnel, and shockwaves of the explosion tore that thing's body into various shapes and even tore it apart. However, that thing recovered in an instant. Its body that had been blasted apart merged back together in the blink of an eye. The blob passed through the explosion and flames like a red smoke arrow and continued to rush toward the tanks and armored vehicles at the second line of defense. The tanks and armored vehicles opened fire. The snipers at the third line of defense opened fire. Artillery shells, bullets, flames, explosions, shrapnel scattered everywhere. The violent explosions could be heard from a small part of Xinchuan City. The blob passed through all the weapons without any hindrance. It only took a short while for it to fly across a distance of several hundred meters and enter the barrel of a tank. Xiaopinggan's remote vision ability was unable to allow him to clearly see what was happening inside the tank. All he could see was that in just 2 seconds, the tank that the phantom monster had entered suddenly moved. It retreated, the turret rotated 90 degrees and aimed at the side of another tank beside it. Then it fired a shot, boom! In the midst of the violent explosion, the tank that was hit by the artillery shell erupted into smoke and flames. The tank that the phantom monster had entered opened fire again and again, all of them aimed at the other tanks and armored vehicles beside it. In the blink of an eye, 3 tanks were destroyed. An anti-tank missile flew out from the third line of defense and pierced through the crazy tank, causing it to explode. The phantom monster's spirit came out from the flames of the explosion and entered another tank through the barrel. 2 seconds later, the tank began to open fire at its teammates. Faced with the phantom monster spirit that was immune to all firearms, the second line of defense began to fall into chaos. At this moment, more and more dots of white light appeared on the pitch-black space crack. The second, the third, the fourth. More and more phantom monsters came out of the spatial rifts and rushed toward the tanks. Once a phantom monsters, 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 phantom monster would attack the nearby vehicles and personnel in a few seconds. The entire line of defense was unable to distinguish between friend and foe. It was a complete mess. In just half a minute, more and more phantom monster spirits came out from the space crack. Thousands upon thousands of them were like a blood-red tide. In just a moment, the tide had completely submerged the 3 lines of defense. Once someone was affected by the phantom monster spirit, they would fall into a terrifying illusion and start attacking the people around them. There were a few summoners stationed here, but those summoners were like mantises trying to stop a chariot in the face of so many phantom monster spirits. After using fireballs to kill a few phantom monsters, those summoners were blown to pieces by the tanks. More and more tanks and armored vehicles drove out from the defensive line of the spatial crack. They turned their cannons and rushed out of the defensive line into the city, fiercely opening fire at the reinforcements, buildings, and houses. In just a few minutes, the entire defensive line of Xinchuan City collapsed. The entire city and the troops of the 87th Legion stationed in Xinchuan City were in chaos. The sound of gunfire and explosions could be heard everywhere. In this chaos, more and more magic rats and magic fire spiders came out from the undefended spatial cracks and crossed the chaotic line of defense, killing everyone in sight. Chapter 102. When his consciousness returned to his brain, Xiao Pingan opened his eyes and discovered that he was lying on the floor. His body was pressed down by the debris and building materials from the collapsed roof. He was completely buried in this pile of debris. In his hand, he was still holding a rocket launcher that had already been fired. The roaring in his ears had already stopped. In Xiao Pingan's consciousness, the scene of the tank raising its cannon and firing at the place where he was last night still lingered. He had just killed a demon fire spider with a rocket launcher, and then a tank turned around from the corner of the street, aimed at the small building he was in, and fired a shot. The tank's main cannon, with a diameter of 125 millimeters, shattered the wall and blew up the entire roof. Xiao Pingan was sent flying by the shockwave of the explosion. Shortly after, he was buried by the debris of the collapsed building. For the entire 87th Legion, yesterday was like a nightmare. It was a bloody battle. Xiao Pingan didn't even know how many people from the 87th Legion had successfully retreated from Xinchuan City after the bloody battle. The combination of the demon rats, the demon fire spiders, and the demon liquid spiders tore apart all the troops of the 87th Legion stationed in Xinchuan City overnight. Yes, the 87th Legion was completely defeated. The last order they received from the Legion headquarters was an order to cover the evacuation of the citizens. After that, they even lost contact with the Legion headquarters. The 87th Legion could deal with the demon rats and the demon fire spiders, but they couldn't deal with the demon spirits of the demon rats. Because no one expected the demon spirits to come out from the spatial rift, the 87th Legion wasn't prepared at all. The ladder to the 87th Legion was an unkillable monster. Not only that, once the demon spirits of the demon rats got close to them, they would fall into a terrifying illusion. They would no longer be able to distinguish between reality and illusion. Under the control of the demon spirits of the demon rats, they would attack the people around them. Under the control of the demon spirits of the demon rats, the soldiers possessed by the demon spirits of the demon rats would slaughter the people around them. Even if they could kill the possessed person, it would be useless because the demon spirits of the demon rats would look for the next target to possess and continue to drag them into the illusion to attack their companions. Under such circumstances, the 87th Legion collapsed. The Legion headquarters gave the order to cover the evacuation of the citizens of Xinchuan City. They had no choice but to give up on Xinchuan City. From the morning of the 28th to the night of the 29th, Xinchuan City fell. 87th Legion. 87th Legion. Only a summoner could kill a demonic spirit. In front of a summoner's spells, the demonic spirit of a phantom monster, which was almost invincible in the face of firearms and hot weapons, was actually very fragile. A simple fireball spell could kill a demonic spirit, and summoned creatures were also lethal to demonic spirits. The other summoners of the Demon Guard stationed in Xinchuan City, a total of 93 summoners, were ordered to snipe the demon spirits of the demon rats with the retreating troops. They covered the evacuation of the Legion and the citizens of Xinchuan City. Xia Pinggan took the initiative to stay behind and fight with the other summoners. They covered the evacuation of the other soldiers and citizens of the 87th Legion. This was Xia Pinggan's first battle after joining the 87th Legion and becoming its high priest. He didn't expect it to be such a fierce battle. Including Xia Pinggan, the 94 summoners of Xinchuan City, including Xia Pinggan, severely wounded the demon spirits of the demon rats at the cost of 1/3 of their strength. They covered the evacuation of the 87th Legion and the citizens of Xinchuan City. When the divine power of the secret mandala was almost depleted and the Shunli Dan was completely exhausted, Xia Pinggan picked up a gun and a rocket launcher. Like a normal soldier, he fought the invading demon rats to the bitter end. However, the two-dimensional passages in Xinchuan City had already been completely lost. In the face of such a collapse and the invading demon rats, the power of less than 100 summoners couldn't change the situation of Xinchuan City. Xia Pinggan stayed behind and fought until the very last moment. He summoned the last remaining elite soldier and farmer in the secret mandala. He used the two summoned creatures to lure the demon fire spiders and demon spirits that were chasing after the retreating troops to the street near this building. In the end, after killing a demon fire spider with a rocket launcher, the building he was in was hit by tank fire and buried under the rubble. Crash! Xia Pinggan's hands stretched out from the bricks and tiles in the ruins, moving away a piece of broken reinforced concrete that weighed several hundred kilograms on his body. Then, he drilled out of the pile of ruins little by little. Xia Pinggan drilled out from under the rubble. His head and face were covered in dust. Even his eyelashes were covered in dust. His clothes were tattered in many places, and his mouth and nose were stained with dried blood. His original appearance could no longer be recognized. There was a big hole in one of the walls of the 3-story building. The roof had collapsed, and almost everything in the building was destroyed in the explosion. The remaining walls were covered in smoke and shocking shrapnel marks. The huge holes in the roof and the wall were like two huge skylights. The weather outside was a little gloomy, but the sky still shone through the holes. Along with the light came gusts of cold wind. The entire city was eerily quiet. Only sporadic gunshots could be heard from afar, but the gunshots disappeared in the blink of an eye. After climbing out of the rubble, Xia Pinggan checked his body and let out a sigh of relief. Apart from some bruises, he didn't have any obvious external injuries. Last night, he vomited blood and fainted from the shockwave of the explosion. Then he was buried in the rubble for an entire night, so he felt a little suffocated. Fortunately, his first Yuan realm body was strong enough. If it was a normal person, they would have died last night. Xia Pinggan carefully moved his limbs, then went behind the broken wall. Through the gap of a broken cabinet, he carefully observed the scene on the street outside. The corpse of the last magic fire spider he killed last night was still on the street over 100 meters downstairs. The rocket launcher had blasted a huge hole in the spider's body. There were also burning tank wreckages on the street. The entire Xinchuan city was beyond recognition as far as the eye could see. Thick smoke billowed everywhere, and the buildings in the city were covered in the traces left behind by the rain of bullets and the explosions. The figures of the 87th Legion could no longer be seen in the city. During the day yesterday, A large number of Xinchuan City's citizens had fled the city under the desperate cover of the 87th Legion soldiers. However, not everyone was able to escape. Some people should have stayed behind and were currently hiding in various corners of the city. Just as Xia Pingan was observing the situation on the street outside, a huge magic fire spider slowly turned around from the side of the street. Seeing the magic fire spider appear on the street, Xia Pingan immediately held his breath. The magic fire spider turned its head and scanned the buildings on both sides of the street. Then, it quickly walked to the corpse of the magic fire spider killed by Xia Pingan and began to gnaw on the corpse with relish. Xia Pingan used his remote vision ability to take a look. At this moment, both inside and outside Xinchuan City, there were demonic fire spiders, demonic liquid spiders, demonic rats, and many phantom monsters, devil spirits wandering around the streets like ghosts. At this moment, he didn't have any divine power to use. If he suddenly went out and encountered a demonic fire spider or a phantom monster's devil spirit, he would definitely die. Therefore, the best thing to do now was to at least recover some of his divine power and have the ability to protect himself before coming up with a plan. Xia Pingan waited patiently for about 2 hours. The magic fire spider on the street had been gnawed until only its shell was left. Only then did the magic fire spider slowly walk away. At this moment, Xia Ping and Secret Mandala's divine power was almost completely depleted. There was only a little bit left. The secret mandala was empty. Apart from the summoned pharmacist who had entered the black mist and hadn't returned, the secret mandala was almost empty. It would take at least 10 more days for his divine power to recover. He would have to wait until the night of the 11th of November, which was the 15th of October of the lunar calendar. Only then would the secret mandala's divine power recover by half. Xia Pingan didn't want to wait here for nothing. Waiting for more than 10 days in such a dangerous place was the most dangerous. Currently, there was only one place in Xinchuan City where he might be able to quickly recover some of his divine power: the 87th Legion's Logistics and Equipment Department's Special Equipment Management Office. Xia Pingan had received his Shunli Dan for the past 2 months from there. The 87th Legion's Shunli Dan was delivered by the military of the Fire Country every few days by plane. Shunli Dan was very precious. There was no way to supply too much at once. There might even be some Shunli Dan left behind. The Logistics and Equipment Department was located on the outskirts of the city. There were fewer demons there than in the city. Even if there wasn't any Shunli Dan there, it would be safer to move there first. After making up his mind, Xia Pingan waited quietly in the ruins, conserving his energy. He waited until the sky was completely dark before Xia Pingan began to move. The clouds tonight were very thick and visibility was very low. It was just right for him to move at night. Demon fire spiders and demon rats weren't known for their eyesight. In the dark, these two invading creatures' perception would be lower. He dragged the last bit of divine power from the secret mandala to the ancestral aperture acupoint in the middle of his eyes. Following a burst of coldness in his eyes, the dark night outside became clearer under the faint red light. The entrance to the building had been blocked by the debris of the explosion. Xia Pingan grabbed onto the cracks between the bricks and the balcony railings through the wall's entrance. He silently slid down from the 4th floor to the street below. Xia Pingan activated his remote vision ability and used an aerial view to observe the movements on the surrounding streets. He then used the darkness and the surrounding buildings as cover to quickly run towards the outskirts of the city. Along the way, Xia Pingan safely avoided more than 10 demon rats and several large spiders wandering around the city. An hour later, he finally arrived at the small airport on the outskirts of the city where the Logistics and Equipment Department was located. Chapter 103. At the sight of the Special Logistics Department of the 87th Legion, Xia Pingan felt a chill in his heart. In the dim red vision, there was only the wreckage of a small propeller plane left in the small airport outside the Special Logistics Department. Previously, many small private planes and helicopters were parked here. Now, those planes were all gone, which indicated that the Special Logistics Department didn't evacuate in a hurry. Most of the planes had already left. As for the wreckage of the small propeller plane, it indicated that some demonic fire spiders had already been here and experienced a battle. A nearby military fuel depot had also been burned black, leaving only debris on the ground. The few houses that were originally used as hangars had also collapsed. The barbed wire fence outside the small airport had been destroyed. The few buildings that seemed to be in good condition were modeled outside, and traces of gunshot holes could be seen in many places. There were 2 medium-sized pits on the runway. The wreckage of 2 dead demonic rats could be seen around them. In such a case, would there still be Shinli Dan here? Xiao Pingan was not sure. However, the 4-story building where the warehouse of the Special Logistics Department was located looked relatively intact. Xiao Pingan passed through the fence and ran towards the 4-story building. There was a gun warehouse downstairs. The thick iron gate of the warehouse was still locked. It hadn't been completely destroyed. In the past, the place to receive Shinli Dan was an office-cum-warehouse with a safe on the 2nd floor of this building. The moment he entered the building, Xiao Pingan had heard some movements from the 2nd floor. He glanced at the 2nd floor with his remote vision and was startled at once, because he saw 2 demonic rats pacing back and forth on the 2nd floor. A demon rat was gnawing the door of a room on the 2nd floor. Being scratched and gnawed by the demon rat, the wooden door was soon broken, revealing a big hole. Another demon rat was walking around the aisle on the 2nd floor with bloody eyes. Xiao Pingan glanced at the office storeroom where he used to receive the divine power pill. The steel protective door of the storeroom was still tightly shut. He didn't know if the people here had forgotten about it before retreating, but the key to the steel protective door was still inserted into the door lock. Zhang Tai then glanced around with his remote vision. There were no demonic rats or demonic fire spiders within 500 m. Xiao Pingan made up his mind at once. After glancing around the 1st floor, he immediately came to the front of a fire cabinet. He broke the glass of the fire cabinet and took out 2 fire axes from the cabinet. Xiao Pingan didn't want to cover his voice. The moment he broke the fire cabinet, he heard a clang in the dark. The sound was very clear in the pitch-dark and silent building. The 2 demonic rats had heard it at once. The 2 demonic rats stopped their movements at once and rushed downstairs without any hesitation. Xiao Pingan took the 2 fire axes and stood behind the wall beside the staircase, waiting for the 2 demonic rats to rush downstairs. Only after a few seconds, a demon rat had rushed downwards. Xiao Pingan raised his axe and chopped down the moment the demon rat exposed its head. This chop was so heavy that it directly split the demon rat's head into 2 halves from the middle, causing its head to be completely split into 2 halves. The demonic rat's brain and blood splashed all over the ground. Without uttering a sound, it had been killed by Xiao Pingan's axe. The other demonic rat charged at Xiao Pingan. Xiao Pingan swung the fire axe in his other hand and heavily hit the 2nd demonic rat's head with the thick side of the axe. With a sound of crack, the demonic rat's head and mouth were directly smashed by the axe. Many of its bones were broken, while a lot of its teeth flew out. The 2nd demonic rat, which was as huge as a lion, was sent flying 5 to 6 m away by Xiao Pingan's axe. Before the demonic rat turned over and stood up, Xiao Pingan had rushed towards it and chopped the demonic rat's neck with his fire axe. Almost half of the demonic rat's head and neck was chopped off. The demonic rat immediately fell down. With another swing of the axe, the head of the devil rat was directly chopped off by Xiao Pingan and rolled on the ground. In just 2 seconds, the battle was over. With another chop, the demonic rat's head was chopped open and there was no realm pearl inside. Xiao Pingan threw away the fire axe in his hand and quickly went upstairs. When he arrived in front of the storeroom, he twisted the key twice and pulled the door handle before entering the storeroom. There were 2 file cabinets, an office desk, and a safe in the corner of the storeroom. Xiao Pingan looked at the safe and found that it was half opened. He looked into the cabinet and found that there were 2 bottles of Shinli Dan and a key. There was nothing else inside. Xiao Pingan was overjoyed. He immediately shook the 2 bottles in his hand. The sound from the bottles clearly told Xiao Pingan that there were pills inside. When he opened the bottles, the special smell of Shinli Dan came from inside. Sure enough, After checking, he confirmed that the bottles contained level 1 Shinli Dan. Each bottle contained 7 level 1 Shinli Dan pills, which could recover 140 points of divine power. Finally found it, and there were 2 bottles. Xiao Pingan picked up the key left in the safe and looked at it. He found that there were the words equipment storeroom on the key. This key should be the key to the entrance of the equipment storeroom downstairs. Strange, the other things in the safe were taken away, but why were the key to the entrance of the equipment storeroom and the 2 bottles of pills still in the safe? Xiao Pingan glanced around the room. His heart suddenly brightened and then warmed. This was deliberately left behind by the people of the Special Logistics Department when they evacuated, because the only one who came here to collect Shinli Dan was him. After everyone evacuated, most people would not think that there was still Shinli Dan here. Furthermore, the outside door could only be opened with a key. It was impossible for the demon rat to use a key to open the door and enter, and it was impossible for the demon fire spider to climb up. Therefore, if he was still alive, the most likely person to come here to look for the God Power Pill was him. In short, the Shinli Dan here was left behind for people, not for those monsters. The people of the Special Logistics Department wanted to replenish his divine power before they evacuated. This was a true comrade in arms. Looking at his empty secret mandala, Xiao Pingan did not wait for half a moment. He raised his head and directly poured a bottle of Shinli Dan into his mouth like eating beans. This Shinli Dan was very special. Every time it entered his mouth, it would turn into a sweet liquid that flowed down his throat and into his stomach, as if it did not need to be digested at all. Then the divine power in the caisson of the temple began to condense like dewdrops. In just a moment, the divine power in the caisson of Xiao Pingan's secret mandala temple became 140 light balls. Xiao Pingan ate 3 Shinli Dan and left 4 Shinli Dan for reserve. Soon, Xiao Pingan's available divine power became 200 points. For a summoner, as long as he had divine power, his courage would immediately increase. Taking the remaining medicinal pills and the key to the warehouse downstairs, Xiao Pingan left the warehouse and went downstairs. Taking advantage of the darkness of the night, he went to the other buildings outside to search and easily found the location of the kitchen. There was still some canned food and food left in the kitchen of the Special Logistics Department. Xiao Pingan, who had not eaten for almost 2 days, was starving. He ate his fill in the kitchen, then left the kitchen and returned to the building from before. He found a room on the upper floor of the building and temporarily settled down. The Special Logistics Department was in the outskirts of the city. The surrounding terrain was open, and it would be easy to find any movement. It would not be easy to fall into a desperate situation. Moreover, there were few invading creatures around the outskirts of the city. There had been a battle here before, and invading creatures had visited this place. The possibility of those demon rats and spiders coming here was not high. Most importantly, there was a lot of food here that could be easily replenished. All in all, although the Special Logistics Department looked abrupt and conspicuous, it was actually a very safe place. Therefore, Zhang Tai could take a good rest here and recover his strength. After that, he would consider what to do next. After setting up some simple warning devices at the staircase entrance of the building, Xiao Pingan locked himself in the room and entered his secret mandala. After integrating with you the Great Realm bead, Xiao Pingan's secret mandala had undergone some changes. The tribe outside the shrine was much larger than before. The entire tribe was close to the mountains and facing the water. It hid the wind and took in the qi. Besides, the feng shui of the tribe had also undergone a great change. Inside the shrine, there was a huge pure gold relief sculpture in the center of the Swerin region, where the 3 reliefs of Cho clan and Shinnon clan were located. It was the story of how you, the Great, conquered the flood and stabilized the land of the 9 provinces, crossing the gate of the 9 provinces without entering it 3 times, beheading the 9-headed Shangliu, and opening the Dragon Gate. On the map of the 9 provinces, 9 cauldrons stood tall. The rivers of the world surged into the sea. Among them, Hengze Lake, Taihu Lake, Dongting Lake, and Poyang Lake were particularly clear. On Hengze Lake, there was a vermilion bird spreading its wings. On Taihu Lake, there was a xuanwu. On Dongting Lake, there was an azure dragon. On Panyong Lake, there was a white tiger roaring like a ferocious tiger coming down from the mountain. The light and shadows of the four great sacred beasts shone brightly. They were unusually agile and majestic. After perfectly integrating with you the Great's Realm bead, Xia Pingan received 70 points of divine power. At this moment, the upper limit of Xia Pingan's divine power had reached 360 points. Ever since he integrated with you the Great's Realm bead, Xia Pingan had been doing the work of pacifying souls. The secret method of summoning positions provided by you the Great's Realm bead had never been used by Xia Pingan. It was because these summoning positions consumed too much divine power. Previously, Xia Pingan didn't have any extra divine power to waste. Almost all of his divine power had been spent on the pacifying ceremony. Xia Pingan's gaze swept over those reliefs and the various summoning positions. His gaze finally fell on Tsang Jie, who was at the foot of the Golden Text Mountain. His gaze immediately focused. After thinking for a few seconds, Xia Pingan gritted his teeth and poured 100 points of divine power into Tsang Jie's reliefs. At this moment, all the reliefs in the temple blossomed with seven-colored light. They were dazzling and resplendent, resonating with each other. Then, holding a jade all in his hand, Tsang Jie, whose entire body was filled with a profound and powerful aura, stepped down from the Golden Text Mountain like an immortal. He stepped on a staircase composed of divine characters, passing through the rainbows formed by the seven-colored light, and walked down step by step. At this moment, all the figures on the reliefs seemed to have come to life. The musicians on the reliefs of the Shinnong clan began to play music for Tsang Jie. Heavenly music suddenly drifted in the temple. In the portrait, Han Yong hurriedly bowed to Tsang Jie. In the portrait, Guanzhong, who was originally sleeping on the sickbed, got up from the sickbed at this moment and bowed to Tsang Jie. Qi Hongong also bowed to Tsang Jie, but covered his face with his sleeves, looking ashamed. In Swearin, the Chou clan, Shinnong clan, Yu the Great, Chung Tang, and the others all smiled and nodded to Tsang Jie. As a result, all the slaves on the battlefield knelt down and saluted to Tsang Jie. Almost all the figures on the reliefs moved, as if they had come to life. Even the black dragon in the reliefs was obediently lying on the ground, sticking out its tongue and wagging its tail. The momentum of Tsang Jie's appearance shocked Xia Pingan. He didn't know why there was such a big commotion when he summoned Tsang Jie. Chapter 104. After arriving at the center of the shrine, Tsang Jie bowed to Swearin, Chou clan, and Shinnong clan, and nodded to Yu the Great, Chung Tang, and the others. Then, under the gazes of everyone, including Xia Pingan, he strode out of the shrine with his head held high and his long sleeves fluttering in the wind. Xia Pingan didn't know what Tsang Jie wanted to do. Tsang Jie walked around the village in the ink painting. Then, he came to the front of a large wooden house that occupied about 1 mu of land. He took out the jade all in his hand and wrote the word storehouse on the door of the wooden house. The word storehouse emitted a golden light. Immediately, the wooden house flickered with golden light and became tall and solemn. Almost at the same time, Xia Pingan's consciousness gained some new information. He sensed and knew that there was a new space warehouse in his secret mandala. Furthermore, he knew how to use it at once. Yes, the place where the word storehouse was written would become his own space warehouse. He could store his items in the real world here. Space equipment? It was actually a space equipment. Tsang Jie only wrote the word storehouse on the building, and it became his space equipment. Tsang Jie didn't stop with the jade all in his hand. After writing the word storehouse, he came to a place near the valley and the stream in the village. He wrote the word alchemy room on the door of a stone house with a courtyard. As soon as the brush touched the ground, the stone house became lively. There were medicine grinders, medicine mortars, medicine jars, medicine furnaces, etc. Xia Pingan was dumbfounded. Like the word storehouse, after Tsang Jie wrote the word storehouse, Xiaoping's consciousness also gained some new information. The information told Xiaoping that the function of his alchemy room was to refine pills. As long as he put the corpses of those space-invading creatures or medicinal materials into the storehouse, the LV-1 pharmacist that he summoned in the secret mandala would be able to refine LV-1 pills. For example, LV-1 Shinli-Dan. It was made from the corpses of invading space creatures, such as devil fire spiders and devil liquid spiders. Alchemists could extract the divine power from the bodies of these space invaders and turn it into pills. These changes in Songjie and the secret mandala were totally out of Xia Pinggan's expectation. This was a real surprise. That was not all. After writing the word alchemy room, Songjie directly returned to the shrine. Standing on the altar in the middle of the shrine, he pointed the jade all in his hand at the reliefs of Shinnon clan. 10 plain-looking but sturdy farmer were summoned at once. Songjie could actually summon people from the mandala by himself, and by using the divine power in the shrine. As soon as the 10 farmer were summoned, the divine power in the caisson of Xia Pinggan's shrine decreased by 50 points. There were only 50 points of divine power left. The 10 farmers stood in a row and bowed to Songjie and the 3 emperors. Then, the golden mountain of characters released a ray of light above the heads of the 10 farmers. Like a baptism and enlightenment, the light lingered for a few seconds and then disappeared. What did this mean? Xiaoping was puzzled. He remembered that the first time he summoned a farmer, the farmer he summoned was not illuminated by the golden text mountain. But at that time, he did not fuse with Songjie's realm pearl. He wondered what kind of changes would occur to the farmer after being illuminated by the golden text mountain. Xiaoping looked at the 10 farmer and found that the eyes of the 4 farmer had a little more lively luster. When he took a closer look at the 10 farmers, the words above their heads appeared. Summon character, farmer consumption of divine power, 5 health, 60 wisdom, 50 combat strength, 3 skills, 1. Farming, 2. Silkworm rearing, 3. Tea picking, plain descending time, 720 minutes sigh. The farmer that Songjie summoned this time seemed to have increased his wisdom by 5 points. Xiaoping remembered that the farmer's wisdom was only 45 points. Right, that Songjie that he summoned did not have such attributes. Did this mean that the only big shots that could be summoned were all like this? The 10 farmer that were summoned left the shrine. In the blink of an eye, a farmer went to the storage room and started to clean up the storage room. Another farmer went to the pill room and started to clean up the pill room. The other 8 farmer started to work in the village's farmlands. Songjie summoned another craftsman. The new craftsman's attributes were also different from the previous one. After being illuminated by the golden text mountain, his wisdom also increased by 5 points. Summon character, elite craftsman consumption of divine power, 6 health, 60 wisdom, 60 combat strength, 3 skills, 1. Making farming tools, 2. Making linen, 3. Making arrows, 4. Making pottery, 5. Cooking salt, 6. Making zither, 7. Woodworking, plain descending time, 80 minutes, and the elite craftsman left the shrine and went to the forest outside to chop bamboo. After a while, the craftsman chopped some bamboo and cut it into pieces of wood before sending it to the shrine. Songjie found a place at the side of the shrine and used the jade all in his hand to carve words on the bamboo pieces. He seemed to be recording something. Xiaoping took a look and realized that Songjie was recording the process of swearing drilling wood to start a fire. Seeing this, Xiaoping did not know what to say. To a certain extent, Songjie was able to control the secret mandala and cause so many changes to occur within it. From a certain perspective, Songjie could be considered the secret master of the mandala. No wonder some summoners regarded the divine runic world bead as the most important spirit world bead and ruler world bead of their secret mandala. It was likely that those summoners who had successfully fused with this world bead had also felt some mysterious changes in their mandala. But Lin Ming didn't know if the secret mandala of those summoners could be like his own and open up such a massive space warehouse. That's right, the space warehouse was so mystical that he hadn't tried it yet. Within his room, Xiao Pingan suddenly opened his eyes. He first sensed the warehouse in his secret mandala. This warehouse covered an area of 600 to 700 square meters. It was extremely large. There weren't many things around him. Xiao Pingan took out the black cobra steel whip that he carried with him. With a thought, the black cobra steel whip in his hand suddenly disappeared. At the same time, a black cobra steel whip appeared in his warehouse. With another thought, the steel whip of the black cobra returned to his hand from the warehouse. Xiao Pingan tried it twice and found that whether it was putting things into the warehouse or taking things out, it was very convenient. As long as he moved his mind, he could freely take things out or send them into the warehouse. This was too mystical. Everything was as simple as taking something out of his pocket. Xiao Pingan directly sent his steel whip, his MR98 pistol, and a bottle of pills into the secret mandala's warehouse. Like this, he wouldn't have to worry about losing them. Before sending in the pill bottle, Xiao Pingan looked at the divine force points in his temple's caisson well. He had 200 points of divine force, but now he only had 44 points left. He ate 2 first-grade Shenli Dan, restoring his divine force to 84 points. Only then did he feel a little more at ease. That's right, wasn't the pill room able to use the corpses of invading demons to refine pills? Didn't he have the corpses of the 2 demon rats downstairs? He could try it out. Just do it. Xiao Pingan left the room and went downstairs. The corpses of the 2 demon rats were still near the staircase on the first floor. They had lost a lot of blood, but they were still fresh. Xiao Pingan came to the side of a demon rat's corpse and kicked it. With a thought, the demon rat's corpse was sent into the warehouse. The other demon rat's corpse was also easily sent into the warehouse. Xiao Pingan returned upstairs to his room and entered the secret mandala. This time, Xiao Pingan found that the alchemist who seemed to have gone to pick herbs in the black fog with a medicine basket on his back was actually carrying the medicine basket again. He was wearing a bamboo hat and picking up a medicine hoe as he eagerly came out of the black fog and returned to the alchemy room happily. There were some flowers, grass, roots, leaves, and so on in the medicine basket of the pharmacist. Everything in this secret mandala was too amazing. Was it really possible to pick herbs in there? With this thought in mind, Xiao Pingan ordered the pharmacist to refine pills with the corpses of demon rats in a warehouse. His thought was the order. Soon, the farmer who was doing odd jobs in the pill room came to the warehouse with a rope and a wooden carrying pole. He and the farmer who was guarding the warehouse tied up a demon rat with the rope. The 2 farmers then carried the demon rat to the pill room. The 2 farmers ran twice and brought the 2 demon rats to the pill room. That LV1 pharmacist then started to refine the 2 demon rats. Meanwhile, Xiao Pingan received a message in his mind. It would take 6 hours to refine the pills successfully. Having not slept for almost 2 days, Xiao Pingan directly fell asleep in his room. 6 hours later, Xiao Pingan woke up. The tiredness of the past 2 days had disappeared. In his storehouse, there were already 2 sets of medicinal pills. The 2 sets of pills were placed on the floor of the warehouse in 2 rustic wooden boxes. Xiao Pingan looked at one of the boxes. There were 10 dark red pills in the box. They were different from the Shenli Dan. Xiao Pingan looked at them and automatically knew the name and ability of the pill, Body Strengthening Pill. Body Strengthening Pill was useful for people below the first Yuan realm, regardless of gender. It could strengthen one's qi, blood, spirit, and physique. 1 body strengthening pill could be taken a day. Its greatest effect was to let one's body reach 90% of the physical ability of the first Yuan realm. At this stage, no matter how many body-strengthening pills one took, it would be useless. An average person could achieve this effect by taking 180 body-strengthening pills. In the other box, there was a pill that was about the same size as the God Power pill, but its color was slightly lighter than the God Power pill. The initial Spirit pill was a lower-level pill than the Shenli Dan. Its effect was exactly the same as the Shenli Dan, but it was weaker. 1 initial Spirit pill could replenish 5 points of divine power, which was a quarter of the effect of the Shenli Dan. Chapter 105. Initial God Pill. Could it be the name of the elementary Shunli Dan? After understanding the effects of the initial God pill, Xia Pingan wasn't disappointed. Instead, he was overjoyed. Even if one initial God pill could only recover 5 points of divine force, it was still a lot. At a critical moment, these 5 points of divine force could save his life. More importantly, Xia Pingan saw hope that he could persevere in fighting against the space invaders. He provided 2 devil rats and received 10 body-strengthening pills and 1 initial God pill. In other words, as long as he killed a devil rat, he would receive 5 body-strengthening pills and half an initial God pill. In other words, killing a devil rat would give him 5 points of divine force. With his current strength, he didn't need to rely on summoning spells to kill devil rats. For a summoner, as long as they could replenish their divine force, they would be able to fight endlessly. He had to see the effects of the initial God pill. As Xia Pingan thought about it, he wanted to take out the wooden box containing the initial God pill. However, with a thought, what appeared in Xia Pingan's hand was the initial God pill. He couldn't take out the wooden box. At the same time, more information appeared in Xia Pingan's consciousness. The wooden box was from the secret mandala and could not be taken out of the secret mandala. Only things that entered the secret mandala from this world could be taken out of the secret mandala. Understood. Xia Pingan looked at the initial God pill in his hand. The initial God pill was very similar to the grade 1 Shunli Dan in both color and smell. It was just a bit lighter. Xia Pingan swallowed the initial God pill in 1 gulp. It felt like he was eating a God power pill. The initial God pill turned into a sweet liquid that flowed down his throat. Then, the secret temple caisson in the secret mandala condensed another 5 God power light orb. Xia Pingan's divine force recovered to 89 points. This effect was exactly the same as that of the grade 1 Shunli Dan. It turned out that the pharmacists summoned from the secret mandala were used in this way. They had to cooperate with Songjie to open a pill room and a warehouse in the secret mandala so that the pharmacists could continuously transform the monsters killed by the summoners into magical pills that could help the summoners continue to fight. If he couldn't fuse with Songjie's realm pearl, then the summoned pharmacist could only be summoned to the real world to refine pills. That way, there would be many inconveniences. A powerful summoner could be self-sufficient. But because Songjie's realm pearl was precious and rare, not many summoners could summon a pharmacist after fusing with the Shinnon clan's realm pearl. So, most of the pharmacists couldn't fuse with the Shinnon clan's realm pearl. Xia Pingan thought, that should be it. Since there was a huge space warehouse in the secret altar, Xia Pingan wasn't going to waste it. He was now in the 87th Legion's Special Logistics Department. If he didn't find something here, it would be a waste of his space warehouse. It was still around 4 in the morning. The sky was still dark outside, and everything was quiet. Xia Pingan was full of energy and didn't feel sleepy. He took the key to the warehouse downstairs that he had just obtained from the safe and quietly went downstairs. He went outside, opened the door of the Special Logistics Department's warehouse, and entered the warehouse. As soon as he entered the warehouse, Xia Pingan saw dozens of black plastic ammunition boxes on the most conspicuous shelf. The boxes were spray-painted with the words, 50 magnum bullets for MR98 revolver pistols, 1,000 normal bullets. There were also a few boxes with the words, 50 magnum bullets for MR98 revolver pistols, 1,000 pure silver bullets. These things were definitely left for him, because next to the pile of ammunition were 2 MR98 pistols that were still in the boxes. The 87th Legion might not have a lot of Shunli Dan, as they needed to be allocated by the military. However, they had as many bullets and firearms as they wanted. Xia Pingan opened a black plastic ammo box. Inside the box, there were 1,000 rounds of 50 Magnum handgun bullets neatly arranged. At the same time, each box was equipped with a quick reloader and a quick bridge clip. It was very considerate. There were 15 boxes of normal bullets, 10 boxes of pure silver bullets, and 2 spare MR98 pistols. Xia Pingan directly stored them in his space warehouse. With these tens of thousands of bullets, and these 2 pistols, he estimated that he could use them for many years. In addition to his most commonly used pistols and bullets, the warehouse was also full of other weapons and equipment. There was no need to mention the RPG rocket launchers. There were definitely good things to deal with the demon fire spiders and demon liquid spiders when he didn't have any divine power. Xiao Pingan casually stored more than 10 RPG rocket launchers and hundreds of rocket launchers into his own space warehouse. Grenades, smoke grenades, sniper rifles, high-energy explosives, high-precision sniper ammunition, sniper crossbows, special cold weapons, wilderness survival kits, all kinds of medicine, all kinds of military equipment. There was a dazzling array of things. There were just too many. As long as there was a possibility that they could be used, Xiao Pingan stored them in his space warehouse. In just a short while, Xiao Pingan's space warehouse was filled with all kinds of weapons and ammunition. Almost half of the warehouse in the special logistics department was emptied by Xiao Pingan. After leaving the weapons warehouse, Xiao Pingan went to the kitchen and the cold storage in the kitchen. He moved the boxes of mineral water, all kinds of canned food, as well as the shells in the cold storage into his own warehouse. There were more than 100 tons of them. Other than himself, other warriors of the 87th Legion knew that there were all kinds of supplies stored in the special logistics department. Considering the possibility that other people might come here to look for things, Xiao Pingan didn't move all the things that could be eaten or used. He even left a lot of things here. With all this food, Xiao Pingan felt that even if he was thrown into the North Pole, he could survive for hundreds of years without any pressure. There was no time acceleration in the space warehouse in the secret mandala. Therefore, the food would still be the same after 100 years. While Xiao Pingan was putting things into the space warehouse, the farmer in the secret mandala who was guarding the space warehouse dutifully sorted out the things that Xiao Pingan put in. Everything was organized neatly. The food was placed on one side and the weapons on the other. The space warehouse had a capacity of more than 7,000 cubic meters. Xiao Pingan only took up a small part of the space warehouse, even though he put in a lot of things. The space warehouse could still store a lot of things. After coming out of the special logistics department cafeteria cold storage, Xiao Pingan was about to go upstairs and try to create a few holy rune bullets with holy runes when a series of sudden and intense gunshots and explosions suddenly came from the darkness in the distance. The place where the gunshots and explosions came from was less than 1,000 meters away from the special logistics department. It was just before dawn. The sky was just about to brighten. Xiao Pingan looked in the direction of the gunshots with his remote vision. He saw a team of more than 10 87th Legion soldiers running quickly with a few ordinary people in a twisted leaf pine forest on the outskirts of the city about 600 meters away. 5 demon rats were chasing after them. Even further away, in the forest about 1,000 meters away, there was a squad of demon liquid spiders chasing after them. Due to the demon liquid spiders' large size, it was very inconvenient for them to enter the twisted leaf pine forest. They would be blocked by the tree trunks. Therefore, they were abnormally irritable and fell far behind. The 5 demon rats, on the other hand, were unusually fierce. They bared their teeth and chased after the people who were running away. As the soldiers ran, they used the assault rifles and grenades in their hands to stop the demon rats from chasing after them. However, the demon rats were too resistant to ordinary bullets. Ordinary bullets could injure the demon rats, but it was very difficult to kill them. Moreover, the demon rats were too agile in the pine forest and knew how to use the surrounding trees to dodge the bullets. The 87th Legion soldiers were covering for the escape. They seemed to be ordinary citizens of Xinchuan City. There were a few men, a few women, a young man, and a child. The child was directly carried on the back of a man. Everyone was running for their lives in the forest. The moment he saw this scene, Xiao Pingan rushed towards the twisted leaf pine forest as fast as he could. As Xiao Pingan ran, he took out a pitch-black sharp longsword that he had just stored in his space storage. Against things like demon rats, if he didn't want to use up his divine power and make as little noise as possible, the black cobra steel whip wasn't very suitable. These weapons were more suitable. they would be able to bring out the strength of his first primary realm body. With a distance of more than 600 meters, Xiao Pingon rushed into the forest in 40 seconds. He was faster than a cheetah. One of the soldiers fell behind. He was half squatting on the ground and shooting at the demon rats chasing after him. However, in the blink of an eye, one of the demon rats suddenly sped up. It circled around a few pine trees and dodged the bullets. It charged out of the bushes and pounced on the soldier. Zhao Yang. When the two soldiers saw this scene, their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The demon rat had already pounced on their comrade. Both sides were rolling on the ground. If they shot, they would hurt Zhao Yang. One of the soldiers pulled out a dagger and rushed over. The other soldier roared and raised the squad machine gun in his hand. He roared and fired at the demon rats behind them. "Don't worry about me. Go!" The soldier on the ground held the assault rifle tightly with both hands. He used the barrel of the assault rifle to block the demon rat's open mouth and teeth. He didn't let the demon rat bite him. However, the demon rat was too strong. After both sides rolled on the ground a few times, the demon rat directly pressed down on the soldier. Its sharp teeth were slowly inching towards the soldier's throat. At this moment, Xiao Pingon appeared. Xiao Pingon's figure flashed. He rushed to the demon rat's side first. With one slash, the head of the demon rat that was pinning down the soldier of the 87 Legion was chopped off by Xiao Pingon. Blood sprayed all over the soldier's head. "Go quickly. Go to the east. Leave the rest to me." Xiao Pingon turned around and shouted at the soldiers. Summer Priest. Xiao Pingon's Legion Priest badge was still on his chest. Seeing the badge on Xiao Pingon's chest, the soldiers immediately knew who Xiao Pingon was. They all became excited as if they had seen their savior. As expected of the 87 Legion's Legion Priest, he was too strong. Such a troublesome demon rat was beheaded in one slash. Chapter 106. Perhaps it was because the reputation of the priest of Xiao Pingon Corps was too well known. Perhaps it was Xiao Pingon's ability to kill the demon rat with one slash that made those soldiers extremely confident in him. In short, when Xiao Pingon ordered those people to run to the east and leave the invading demon creatures to him, those soldiers all quickly retreated. No one was worried about whether Xiao Pingon could deal with the demon rat and the demon liquid spider that were chasing after him. Xiao Pingon took the initiative to rush towards the other 4 demon rats. Demon rats were intelligent creatures. Seeing Xiao Pingon kill one of their companions, the remaining 4 demon rats did not chase after those who were running away. Instead, they immediately surrounded Xiao Pingon. The demon rats were lying on the ground with mucus dripping from their sharp teeth. They kept moving around while staring at Xiao Pingon with their blood-red eyes. Xiao Pingon felt that these 4 devil rats seemed to be waiting for the devil liquid spider behind them to arrive. How could he let these devil rats do as they wished? If the devil rats didn't take the initiative to attack him, then he would take the initiative to attack. Xiao Pingon pounced on the demon rat in front of him. However, as soon as he moved, the demon rat in front of him felt Xiao Pingon pouncing on it and hurriedly retreated to one side. Meanwhile, the other 3 demon rats pounced on Xiao Pingon on his left, right, and back. Especially the demon rat behind Xiao Pingon. Its 2-meter-long body suddenly jumped up from the ground and directly bit at Xiao Pingon's neck. However, Xiao Pingon's pounce was just a feint to confuse the demon rat. He not only scared off the demon rat in front of him, but also attracted the attention of the other 3 demon rats. When the demon rat in the back turned around and pounced, Xiao Pingon had also turned around. Xiao Pingon seemed to have eyes on his back. Before he turned around, he had already executed a beautiful 180-degree slash with his long saber. The demon rat only had time to utter half a scream before its head was cut off from its neck by Xiao Pingon's long saber. The moment Xiao Pingon drew back his long saber, he stabbed it into the ground like a nail, nailing a demon rat who was rushing towards him from his left side and wanted to attack his lower body. Xiao Pingon supported his body with his long saber. He then turned his body horizontally in the air to avoid the attack of the demon rat that was rushing towards him from the right. After that, he ferociously stomped on the ground with his right foot and stepped on the head of another demon rat. Xiao Pingan's body erupted with a powerful force, directly stomping the demon rat's head into the ground. Only in a second, one demon rat was killed by Xiao Pingan. As for the remaining two demon rats, one was nailed to the ground by Xiao Pingan with his long saber, while the other one was stepped on by Xiao Pingan with his foot. Not until then did the retreating demon rat realize that it had been tricked. After shrieking, it saw that Xiao Pingan was controlling the other two demon rats. Therefore, it charged towards Xiao Pingan once again. The two demon rats that were nailed to the ground by Xiao Pingan and stepped on by Xiao Pingan were indeed not dead. Demon rats had strong vitality. They were still struggling. The two demon rats dug their forepaws into the ground and tried to get out. Xiao Pingan grabbed the handle of his long saber and pressed it down forcefully. The long saber stabbed into the ground, turned into a guillotine, and directly cut the demon rat's head from the middle, like cutting a melon, killing it instantly. Then Xiao Pingan directly inserted the long saber into the mouth of the demon rat that was rushing towards him. The black tip of the saber came out from the back of the demon rat's head. After the saber was pulled out, the demon rat fell to the ground. It didn't die at once, but it was too late to struggle and escape. Xiao Pingan once again slashed out with his saber, chopping off the demon rat's head. The demon rat under Xiao Pingan's feet had already dug out 2 pits on the ground. Xiao Pingan then chopped off the head of the demon rat with his saber. Closely after that, the demon rat stopped struggling. In these 2 rounds, the other 4 demon rats were also killed by Xiao Pingan. Xiao Pingan used his fastest speed to collect the corpses of the 5 demon rats on the ground and sent them into the space warehouse. Then, he rushed towards the demon liquid spider. When he was dozens of meters away from the demon liquid spider, the demon liquid spider spat out silk at Xiao Pingan. A silk thread shot towards Xiao Pingan like an arrow. Xiao Pingan flashed and dodged it. The silk thread was swung horizontally. 2 waist-thick tree trunks and some shrubs were corroded by the demon liquid spider's silk thread. They were cut like tofu and fell down with a loud bang. Xiao Pingan dodged the demon liquid spider's attack. Then he took out the MR-98 and fired 3 shots at the demon liquid spider. The 3 shots hit the demon liquid spider's head. Although they couldn't penetrate the demon liquid spider's defense, they successfully enraged it. Another silk thread cut through the tree trunk and flew towards him. Xiao Pingan turned around and ran towards the southwest. Before he ran, he turned around and fired another shot. The demon liquid spider recklessly rushed towards Xiao Pingan. Xiao Pingan ran towards a place with fewer people. He lured the demon liquid spider away from the direction of the warriors. Xiao Pingan ran neither fast nor slow. He was always under the eyes of the demon liquid spider, but the demon liquid spider couldn't reach him. Moreover, the route that Xiao Pingan chose wasn't the kind of dense forest where the demon liquid spider couldn't squeeze through. The demon liquid spider's several attacks were easily dodged by Xiao Pingan. This made the demon liquid spider even angrier, and it chased after him relentlessly. More than 10 minutes later, Xiao Pingan had already run 5 to 6 kilometers in the forest with the magic liquid spider and arrived at a small valley in the wilderness. After arriving here, Xiao Pingan stopped running. Instead, he suddenly stopped and turned around to face the demon liquid spider that was rushing towards him. The demon liquid spider was extremely angry. It no longer spat out corrosive silk threads. Its ferocious and huge body was like a tank as it ran over the shrubs on the ground and smashed through a pile of soil. It rushed towards Xiao Pingan with its mouth wide open. It couldn't wait to swallow Xiao Pingan whole. From the moment Xiao Pingan appeared until now, he hadn't used any spells. He had only attacked with his gun. Therefore, the demon liquid spider didn't expect that Xiao Pingan was a summoner. Black Tortoise! Xiao Pingan let out a low roar before unleashing a spell that he had prepared beforehand. The black tortoise came out. It had the head of a snake and the body of a tortoise. Its entire body was pitch black, and its entire body was rippling with black waves. Its entire body seemed to be made of black water, and it carried a gloomy chill. This was the summoning slot that Xia Pingon had mastered when he first summoned you the Great. Summoning Xuanwu consumed a total of 36 points of divine power. At first, Xia Pingon thought that the Xuanwu that he could summon would be huge and majestic. It would be at least as big as the demon liquid spider, but seeing the real Xuanwu that he summoned, Xia Pingon almost lost his confidence. He turned around and was about to continue running. The Xuanwu that he summoned was only slightly bigger than his palm. It wasn't much bigger than a turtle. The Xuanwu that he summoned was very fast. He stepped on a few black water splashes. In the blink of an eye, he rushed in front of the demon liquid spider that was many times bigger than him. When the two stood side by side, the difference in size was too big. It felt like a real heavy battle tank was placed next to a toy tank that a child was playing with. The black tortoise bit down on the hard shell on the back of the magic liquid spider. The black water that formed the black tortoise's body suddenly spread out and covered the entire magic liquid spider. The black tortoise disappeared. Its attack was to take a bite. Then, the demon liquid spider that was charging aggressively at Xia Pingon completely froze. It was like a stone statue, completely motionless. The light of life in the demon liquid spider's eyes dimmed in an instant. A layer of white frost instantly covered the demon liquid spider's body. Even the ground where the demon liquid spider was standing was covered in a layer of white frost. The might of the black tortoise's attack power gave Xia Pingon a fright. Xia Pingon originally thought that there would be a fierce battle. He didn't expect Xuanwu to just bite. Seeing that the demon liquid spider could no longer move, Xia Pingon carefully approached the motionless demon liquid spider. After checking, he confirmed that the demon liquid spider was really dead. It was as dead as a frozen pork taken out of a freezer. Chapter 107. Xia Pingon put away the magic liquid spiders that had been killed by Xuanwu and took a detour back. He was both excited and shocked. He didn't expect that the sacred beast that you the Great had obtained from controlling the flood could kill the magic liquid spiders so easily. Xuanwu belonged to the water element, and its symbolism included the netherworld, Rengue, and Jida. Xuanwu was also the head of the water god, which could strike fear into the hearts of all evil creatures. He didn't expect it to be so powerful. Xia Pingon had felt that the 36 points of divine force cost too much, but after seeing the effect, Xia Pingon felt that the 36 points of divine force were well spent. At this moment, Xia Pingon's secret mandala only had 53 points of divine force left from the 89 points of divine force. Xia Pingon spared some time to take a look at the secret mandala. In the secret mandala, he didn't have to worry about the corpses of the 5 demon rats and the magic liquid spiders that had been stored in the portal warehouse. The 2 farmer guarding the portal warehouse and the alchemy room were already dealing with them. The 2 farmer opened up the heads of the demon rats and the magic liquid spiders to check if there were any realm pearls in their heads. After finding that there were no realm pearls, the 2 farmer carried the demon rats to the alchemy room and then returned to the portal warehouse. They removed the internal organs and brain matter of the magic liquid spiders and sent them to the alchemy room in containers. Xia Pingon originally thought that the farmer and the pharmacist in the secret mandala might be able to cut open the bodies of the magic liquid spiders. However, after taking a closer look, he realized that he was worrying too much. The 2 farmer took out 2 clay pots from the alchemy room and poured the liquid in the pots onto the magic liquid spiders' bodies. The hard shells of the magic liquid spiders softened by more than half, and then they could cut them open. When Xia Pingon was sizing up the secret mandala, Cang Jie, Cang Sheng took the initiative to summon a pharmacist. The newly summoned alchemist also received a 5-point increase in intelligence after being baptized by the Golden Text Mountain, becoming 66 points. His other attributes, however, remained unchanged. The newly summoned pharmacist bowed to the 3 emperors in the Divine Palace, then left the Divine Palace and went to the pill room. After spending 12 points of divine power, the 53 points of divine power became 41 points. Cang Jie summoned another 2 farmer. Xiaoping's heart trembled. His god power was being consumed too quickly. In the blink of an eye, his 41 points of god power had become 31 points. However, the farmer that Song Jie summoned this time was different from the previous ones. To be precise, it wasn't a farmer this time, but two women. This was the first time Xia Pinggan learned that the farmer in the secret altar could summon women. It seemed like there were many secrets in the secret altar that he didn't know. In the blink of an eye, the two women also left the divine palace and went to the village outside to busy themselves. Xia Pinggan used his remote vision to look at the soldiers who had left before. He found that they had indeed arrived at the Special Logistics Office after leaving from the east. The signboard of the Special Logistics Office was still hanging. The soldiers led the refugees to the Special Logistics Office and hid in the 4-story building. 2 soldiers stayed outside to hide, while the other soldiers went to the kitchen to look for food. Finding that there were still many things in the kitchen and cold storage of the Special Logistics Office, the soldiers brought some canned food, water, and food back and distributed them to everyone. The group of people hurriedly ate. Everyone was starving. When Xia Pinggan took a detour back to the Special Logistics Office, the east was slightly red and the sky was just about to brighten. "Don't move, who's there?" Xia Pinggan asked coldly as he drilled out of the bushes outside the fence of the airport. A black muzzle was immediately pointed at him from the bushes beside him. The soldier who was hiding in the bushes didn't carry night vision equipment. The distance between them was more than 20 meters. Before the sky was completely bright, he could only see a person drilled out of the bushes beside him. Therefore, he hurriedly shouted at the person to stop. If it was something else, such as a demon rat, the soldier might have opened fire at once. "It's me." Xia Pinggan looked at the muzzle. "Ah, summer priest." The soldier hurriedly climbed up from the bushes and rushed towards Xia Pinggan. After saluting, he glanced around vigilantly. Seeing that the surroundings were calm and there were no demon rats or magic liquid spiders, he let out a sigh of relief. "Where are those demon rats and magic liquid spiders?" "They've been killed," Xia Pinggan said casually. "It's safe here for the time being. The other demons won't come here for the time being. You can take a rest first. The company commander asked me to be on guard here," the soldier said. Seeing that these soldiers were very vigilant, Xia Pinggan nodded and didn't say anything more. He then returned to the logistics department. When Xia Pinggan arrived, 2 soldiers were scratching their heads at the door of the warehouse. They wanted to blow up the door lock with a grenade, but they were afraid of making too much noise and attracting those demons. "I have the key here." In the astonished eyes of the 2 soldiers, Xia Pinggan took out the key, opened the door of the warehouse, and let the 2 soldiers inside to get something. In a conference room on the 3rd floor, Xia Pinggan once again saw the soldiers and the ordinary people who had escaped from the city. The curtains of the conference room were drawn. A group of people had just finished eating and were carefully resting in the conference room. The 2 soldiers had taken several first aid kits from the warehouse and were treating the injured people. Fortunately, none of them were seriously injured. They only had slight abrasions and scratches, which were not serious. If they were seriously injured, they wouldn't have been able to survive until now. Wu Guilin, the company commander of the 107th Mechanized Infantry Brigade under the 87th Corps, greets the Corps priest. As soon as Xia Pinggan appeared, all the soldiers saluted him together and looked at Xia Pinggan with reverence. After chatting for a while, Xia Pinggan learned about their experience. These soldiers were mainly from the 107th Mechanized Infantry Brigade, and several of them were from other troops. They had all gathered together after being separated. The day before yesterday, the troops had evacuated from Xinchuan, and the situation was very chaotic. These soldiers and ordinary people didn't have time to meet up with the rest of the troops. After a day's delay, they could only find a place to hide in the city. Last night, a group of people took advantage of the darkness to break out, but they didn't expect to encounter a demon rat. They opened fire and killed the demon rat, but they didn't expect to attract more demon rats and a demon liquid spider. 2 more soldiers were killed in the process of being chased. Xia Pinggan also knew what happened next. If they hadn't met Xia Pinggan, these people probably wouldn't have survived the pursuit of those demon rats and demon liquid spiders. These soldiers asked about Xia Pinggan's experience. Xia Pinggan also said that he and the other summoners had stayed until the end to cover the evacuation of the troops and the citizens of Xinchuan City. They were also separated from the troops. According to Wu Guolin, there were still some soldiers and citizens in the city who hadn't had time to evacuate. When they escaped last night, they heard explosions and gunshots in the city. Xia Pinggan asked them to rest here for a day and find a way to leave in the evening. These people had to rest because the soldiers still had a bit of physical strength. As for the ordinary men and women, even if they were running for their lives, after a night of running and scaring, they were exhausted. If they didn't rest and restore their physical strength, they wouldn't be able to run again. Fortunately, Xia Pinggan was here to replenish some equipment and food. Everyone was relieved to rest here and prepare to leave after dark. After Xia Pinggan and Wu Guolin finished talking, he asked everyone to rest here. Just as he walked out of the room, a 20-something officer with a dark skin, a straight nose, and a capable temperament, wearing the military rank of second lieutenant, followed Xia Pinggan out. He quickly caught up with Xia Pinggan. "Summer priest, do you know him, Mo Yin Xiao?" Xia Pinggan turned around and looked at the second lieutenant. "You are Manzijin, a member of the 87th Corps Fire Dragon Commando. Manzi is my older brother. He used to work at the Shanghai City Committee of Order." The young second lieutenant introduced. The 87th Corps Fire Dragon Commando? That was the special forces of the 87th Legion. The people in it were all elite soldiers. Just now, Xia Pinggan inexplicably felt that this Manzi Jin was a little familiar. There was a familiar aura between his eyebrows. It turned out that he was Man Zi's younger brother. He looked frivolous and liked to flirt with beauties, but he was actually a very good person. After Uncle Man left the Shanghai Order Committee, the Shanghai City Order Committee became much more deserted. He didn't expect Man Zi's younger brother to be serving the country. "How's your brother?" "After August 15th, I lost contact with him." Manzijin shook her head and said in a low voice, "Lost contact? What happened to him?" "He was in France before. France was a little chaotic. Before we lost contact, we contacted each other once. At that time, my brother reminded me to be careful. There might be a demon spirit outbreak in the future. What happened? After my brother arrived in Europe, he discovered that the demon eyes were secretly collecting and smuggling nuclear fuel. They even kidnapped nuclear physicists." Xia Pinggan frowned slightly, and waves surged in his heart. In fact, he had suspected that the demon spirits running out of the spatial rift were caused by Russia throwing hydrogen bombs into the spatial rift. Because it was a rumor, it had never been confirmed, and the Russian military had denied it. Since the Garden of Eden project in Europe, the global control of nuclear materials had been stricter than imagined for more than half a century. Manzi was in charge of intelligence work, and the clues he found were not groundless. The demon eyes were collecting and smuggling nuclear fuel and kidnapping nuclear physicists. This was no small matter. But why hadn't he received any notice of such an important matter when he was in the Demon Suppression Guard? It was fine if his level was low, but Tang Guofeng of the 87th Legion should be high enough. Tang Guofeng shouldn't know about this either. If Tang Guofeng knew, then the troops of the 87th Legion station in Xinchuan City would not be unprepared. Chapter 108. The Demon Suppression Guards in E Province had been re-established, but Tang Guofeng had sent most of the summoners of the newly established E Province Demon Suppression Guards to the Thousand Dragon Mountain Range to eliminate the monsters hiding in the mountains. The troops of the 87th Legion were guarding the spatial rifts near the cities and plains all over E Province, and there were not many summoners stationed in the provincial capital, Xinchuan City. The troops of the 87th Legion guarding the spatial rifts in the city basically did not consider that they would encounter such a large-scale demon spirit assault, so they collapsed so quickly and suffered heavy casualties. If Tang Guofeng had known that the demon eyes might have created and obtained nuclear weapons, there would definitely not have been so few summoners in the troop station in Xinchuan City, and the focus of the Demon Suppression Guards would not have been entirely on clearing out the monsters in the mountains. It was precisely because no one expected so many phantom monsters and demon spirits to surge out of the spatial rifts that this disaster and great defeat occurred. What exactly went wrong? Was it because the clues and information man Z found were not complete enough, so he did not report it to the Committee of Order? Or was there a problem with the internal intelligence response of the Committee of Order, and it did not attract enough attention and was ignored? Or was there a problem with the communication between the Committee of Order and the Military Control Committee? For the current Xia Pingan, there was no way to investigate these problems. Your brother is very competent at his job and has never disappointed anyone. I'm very sorry about what happened to your brother, Xia Pingan said to Manzijin. One of us joined the Committee of Order, and the other joined the army. We're both engaged in dangerous work and serving the country. In fact, we've already disregarded life and death. My brother is just missing. I only hope that the heavens will help him, Manzijin said to Xia Pingan. Then Xia Pingan asked a question. Is the summer priest going to continue fighting in Xinchuan City? Why are you asking this question? Because I want to stay here and continue fighting. Manzijin's eyes flashed as she said firmly. Xia Pingan did not expect this question. At this time, many people wanted to escape from Xinchuan, but Manzijin wanted to stay. The choice of this member of the 87th Corps Fire Dragon Commando was somewhat beyond his expectations. Interesting. Why do you want to stay? I want to avenge my comrades and brothers. Is this reason enough? This reason is enough, but are you sure you don't want to leave? If you leave here, you can meet up with the other troops, and it will be safer. Summer Priest, do you think the 87th Legion still exists? Manzijin asked back. Xia Pingan's expression also turned serious. This was exactly what he was worried about. From last night until now, he had not seen any fighter jets or drones flying over Xinchuan City again. If the 87th Legion's command system was still functioning, the Legion's strength was still relatively intact, and the military airfields and air forces in various parts of Izhou were still operating normally. Then sending fighter jets or drones to Xinchuan to check out the situation should be the most basic operation and most normal reaction. Unfortunately, the skies over Xinchuan City had been too quiet ever since the Legion retreated that night. With such a big incident happening in Xinchuan, with the loss of a provincial capital and countless casualties, the Fire Country's Supreme Military Management Committee should have already known about the situation in Xinchuan City. But similarly, there were no fighter jets or drones coming over to investigate. This meant that the situation in the entire Fire Country was probably so bad that the Supreme Military Management Committee could not care less about a place like Xinchuan. These were all reasonable deductions based on the current situation. I believe that Xinchuan City is not the only place where phantom monsters and spirits came out of the spatial rift that night. The tide of demonic spirits may have spread to the entire Fire Country or even the entire world. The last order from the 87th Legion's headquarters was for everyone to cover the evacuation of Xinchuan City. Since then, we have not been able to get in touch with the Legion. I heard that some invading magical creatures are still chasing after the retreating troops and personnel. The troops and personnel retreating from Xinchuan City should also be in the midst of battle, or they might have already been completely routed. Many places in the Fire Country should be in a state of anarchy right now, or else the fighter jets would have already come. Manzijin said resolutely. Since fighting is inevitable no matter where we go, as a soldier, I choose to stay here and fight. I will not let those magical creatures take over Xinchuan so easily. This was a soldier of the Great Fire Country. Xia Pingan found himself admiring this Manzijin a little. I will also stay and continue fighting with those magical creatures. If you are willing to stay, you can fight freely, or you can fight with me. However, if you want to fight with me, you must obey my orders. 87th Corps Fire Dragon Commando member Manzijin reporting for duty, sir. Manzijin lowered her chin and put on a serious expression. She stood at attention and saluted Xia Pingan. Xia Pingan enjoyed the treatment of a colonel in the 87th Legion, and he was also the Legion's priest. As a second lieutenant of the 87th Corps Fire Dragon Commando, he had no qualms about accepting Xia Pingan's orders at this time. Furthermore, Xiao Pingan had already displayed his strength before. At this time, the truth that the strong were respected was even more convincing. Whoever could kill the magical creatures would be the boss. Everything else was meaningless. What position do you hold in the Fire Dragon Commandos? I'm a sniper of the Fire Dragon Commandos. I'm also proficient in ambushes, reconnaissance, infiltration, capture, explosives, and driving all kinds of vehicles and aircrafts. As expected of a member of the Special Forces and a sniper at that. Her abilities were not bad. Xiao Pingan rubbed his chin and looked at Manzajan seriously. To be able to serve as a sniper of the Fire Dragon Commandos, Manzajan's sniping skills should be top-notch. She should be useful. All right, where's your gun? Manzajan looked a little embarrassed. My gun was corroded by the magic liquid spiders during the battle. It's completely damaged and can't be used anymore, so I threw it away. Commandos love guns as much as their lives, but there was no need to bring a damaged sniper rifle with them when they were on a run. Xiao Pingan directly threw the key to the storeroom downstairs to Manzajan. There's a storeroom downstairs. There's a lot of equipment inside, including sniper rifles. Go and choose something useful, then come to room 412 and find me. Yes. Manzajan saluted Xiao Pingan again, then took the key and went to choose something. Not long after Xiao Pingan returned to room 412, Manzajan came back. She was wearing a ghillie suit and holding a heavy anti-material sniper rifle codenamed Thor, which was used by the army of the Great Fire Country. She was armed to the teeth from head to toe and looked murderous, as if she was ready to go into battle at any time. Thor's heavy anti-material sniper rifle was famous all over the world. It was one of the top sniper rifles. The caliber of this rifle was 14.5 millimeters and could easily kill a target from 2,000 away. It was the star weapon of the Great Fire Country's army. Anyone who could use this heavy anti-material sniper rifle was a ruthless person. What kind of ammunition does this Thor use? Xiao Pingan asked. Usually, it uses 14.5 millimeters anti-material bullets or armor-piercing incendiary bullets. Manzajan answered, Fine. Give me 5 armor-piercing incendiary bullets. Manzajan took out 5 armor-piercing incendiary bullets and gave them to Xiao Pingan. 5 armor-piercing incendiary bullets were enough to fill a magazine. Okay, it's okay now. You can leave now. You can rest in all the empty rooms in this building. May I ask, when will we take action? Manzajan was eager to have a try. We'll rest in the daytime and take action in the evening. I see. Manzajan nodded. By the way, there's one more thing I want to report to you, sir. What's that? When we evacuated from the city, I found some demon rats were collecting human corpses in the city. They were dragging those corpses somewhere. I don't know what they're doing. Xiao Pingan frowned slightly and nodded. Okay, I got it. Manzajan saluted Xiao Pingan and then left. After Manzajan left, Xiao Pingan used a bit of divine power to summon Tsang Jie's Jade All. With the Jade All in hand, Xiao Pingan took out 5 MR98 bullets. The Jade All that was infused with divine power had an extraordinary ability. At the tip of the Jade All, there was a slight but dazzling brilliance flashing. Just by lightly sliding across the bullet head, it could leave a shallow mark. At this time, the Jade All in Xiao Pingan's hand was like a carving knife. For the first time, Xiao Pingan held the Jade All and used a full 5 minutes to leave a mysterious flame-like pattern on the bullet head. This mysterious pattern was the raging grass divine text of the word fire. This divine text consumed 2 points of divine power. After processing the pistol bullet, it turned into a rune bullet. Some people called these rune bullets divine rune bullets. They all had the same meaning. This was Xiao Pingan's first attempt at making rune bullets. The first one was a bit rusty, but the second one was a lot smoother. The third one was a bit smoother. By the time he processed the fourth one, he was completely familiar with it. In 1 minute, he processed a rune bullet. Xiao Pingan processed 5 rune bullets for himself and 5 rune armor-piercing incendiary bullets. After processing 10 bullets, he consumed another 20 points of divine power. In the blink of an eye, the remaining 41 points of divine power were reduced to 20 points. This consumption of divine power was really like flowing water. The morning quickly passed. In the afternoon, the two pharmacists were busy together. The secret alchemy room in a mandala finally refined the pills. There were a total of 25 body-strengthening pills, 2 initial spirit pills, and 3 level 1 Shinli-Dan. The alchemy room still had half of the ingredients for the initial spirit pill that hadn't been refined. They could only wait until the next time they had devil rats to refine them together. Looking at the pills, Xiaoping's spirit was greatly aroused. Killing a devil liquid spider consumed 36 points of divine power and obtained 3 level 1 Shinli-Dan. He directly earned 24 points of divine power. This business was not a loss. There was still profit to be made. Chapter 109. After taking 3 LV1 Shinli-Dan and 2 primordial spirit pills, Xiaoping's divine energy increased by 70 points. The divine energy that he had just consumed was directly recovered to 90 points. Before he went out, he had 89 points of divine power. Now that he went out, not only did he fully recover his divine power, but he also had an extra point. There were 2 more farm women who could work in the secret mandala. He also had 10 more rune bullets and 25 body-strengthening pills. These extra things were profit. During the daytime, everyone carefully hid in the house of the Special Logistics Office. Nobody went out. Even Xiaoping stopped. If they provoked demon rats and huge spiders during the daytime, they would easily attract a lot of demon rats and spiders. Therefore, they had better rest during the daytime. It was very dangerous outside. None of them went out, but within a kilometer of the logistics department, they had experienced 2 dangers that were neither too big nor too small during the day. The first one was at noon. 3 demon rats approached the end of the runway of the Special Logistics Office. After wandering on the grassland for a while, they saw the desolate look of the base. After wandering outside the runway for more than 10 minutes, they tore a big hole in the steel wire fence between the runway and the grassland. 1 demon rat even circled around the runway. Finally, the other 3 demon rats drilled into the woods and left. The appearance of the 3 demon rats scared the 2 soldiers who were on guard outside so much that they broke out in cold sweat. Xiaoping saw it with his remote vision and was ready to launch an attack at any time. After the 3 demon rats left, it was past 2 p.m. At that time, a demon fire spider and a shadow monster's demon soul appeared on the road near the base. They were less than 400 meters away from the base. There was also a small town, a water plant, and some buildings near the base of the Special Logistics Department. The buildings in the base were not very conspicuous. The demon fire spider and the phantom monster's demon spirit did not seem to want to come here for a stroll. Instead, they went to the small town nearby. Finally, it was dark outside. Dark clouds covered the moon tonight, and visibility was very low after dark. The soldiers who were preparing to leave had eaten and drank their fill. They also had a lot of food and ammunition on their bodies and wore night vision goggles on their heads. When Xiaoping confirmed that there were no monsters around, the 107th Mechanized Infantry Company Commander Wu Guolin led the soldiers and the refugees out of the base quietly. They didn't dare to take the main road. The main road was the evacuation route for the 87th Legion and the citizens of Xinchuan. The chances of encountering monsters along the way were too high. Therefore, they took the small path by the river towards the wilderness. Although it wasn't easy to walk, the chances of encountering monsters were lower. There was another advantage to walking along the river. If they encountered demon fire spiders or demon liquid spiders, they could jump into the river. It was also a way to survive. The magic fire spider was afraid of water, and the magic liquid spider was not afraid of water. However, its attack could be diluted and blocked by the river water. The threat of the magic rat jumping into the water would also be greatly reduced. It was not much more agile than a human. Of course, the soldiers who left already carried 2 rocket launchers with them. They had a total of 10 rockets. Even if they encountered demon fire spiders, they would still be able to fight. The people who left all carried life jackets that they found in the special department. These life jackets could prevent them from drowning if they fell into the water. When they were leaving, Xia Pingan consumed 10 points of divine power and summoned an elite slave soldier under the surprised gazes of the people who left. With this, Xia Pingan only had 80 points of divine power left. This is the slave soldier I summoned. If you encounter demon spirits and a small number of magic rats, you can deal with them. This slave soldier will escort you for 6 hours. If you encounter demon fire spiders, it will cover your escape and create an opportunity for you to attack. 6 hours was enough for the people who left to leave the most dangerous area of Xinchuan City. The people who stayed had their reasons to stay, and the people who left also had their reasons to leave. There was no right or wrong, only different choices. As for the rest, their fates were up to the heavens. The few citizens who were preparing to leave thanked Xia Pingan profusely. Wu Guilin led all the soldiers to solemnly salute Xia Pingan. Then, he led the soldiers to escort the citizens away. Soon, the group disappeared into the distant woods. Seeing those people leave, Xia Pingan withdrew his gaze and handed the 514. 5mm armor-piercing incendiary bombs and a bottle to Manzajan. Manzajan took the two things and looked at them in confusion. This is the 14. 5mm armor-piercing incendiary bombs didn't look much different from ordinary armor-piercing incendiary bombs, except that the bullet head had a mysterious pattern that others couldn't understand. As for the bottle that Xia Pingan handed to Manzajan, it was a clean condiment bottle that Xia Pingan had found in the kitchen. The condiment bottle contained 10 body-strengthening pills. Xia Pingan didn't have anything else to store the pills in. He couldn't hold the pills in his hand, so he could only put them in this simple bottle. It was no wonder that Manzajan couldn't recognize it. Those 5 bullets are now rune bullets. 1 bullet can kill a phantom monster, demon spirit, or demon rat. The condiment bottle contains body-strengthening pills. 1 body-strengthening pill can increase your chi, blood, and physique without any side effects. However, you can't take too many body-strengthening pills. You can only take 1 in 24 hours. Manzajan held the 5 bullets tightly and looked at them carefully. Finally, she put them away carefully. She had heard of rune bullets before. Many summoners didn't even have them. She didn't expect that Xia Pingan would give her 5 at once. According to legend, only summoners who had mastered hieroglyphs could make rune bullets. Even among summoners, rune bullets were considered a luxury item. Thinking that 1 rune bullet could kill a demon spirit, Manzajan's blood boiled. Her eyes flashed with a strong, killing intent. That night, if they hadn't encountered a phantom monster's demon spirit, her comrades wouldn't have died so miserably. Only those who had fought with a demon spirit would know how desperate it was to fight against a demon spirit with ordinary weapons. These rune bullets were the nemesis of demon spirits. Manzajan didn't even think about the body-strengthening pills in the condiment bottle. She opened the bottle and poured out a bullet and swallowed it. Less than half a minute after swallowing the pill, Manzajan's face became rosy. Then, sweat appeared on her forehead. The blood vessels and meridians on the back of her hand were squirming like earthworms. It seemed that there was a wave of energy passing through her blood vessels and meridians. After a full 2 minutes, Manzajan's face returned to normal. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. I feel very good." Manzajan licked her lips. "Well, now I'll tell you what we're going to do tonight. Put on the night vision goggles first." Seeing that Manzajan had returned to normal, Xia Pingan took out a map of Xinchuan City. He spread it out on the grass in front of them and began to explain. Manzajan quickly put on the military night vision goggles on her helmet and listened to Xia Pingan's explanation carefully. We're now in this area, the suburbs in the southeast of Xinchuan City. Xia Pingan pointed to an area on the map. In the future, we'll be based in the Special Logistics Department. We'll need to return here often to replenish our equipment, eat, or rest. Therefore, in line with the principle that rabbits don't eat the grass near their burrows, our operation area will first exclude the area within 3 kilometers of the Special Logistics Department. We need to use guerrilla warfare to look for targets in other directions of Xinchuan City. Manzajan nodded. There was nothing wrong with Xia Pingan's arrangement. Our early targets are mainly the lone demon fire spiders or demon liquid spiders near the outskirts of Xinchuan City, as well as no more than 4 demon rats. I'll be responsible for finding the target and commanding the operation, while you'll be responsible for attacking the target with your sniper rifle from 1,500 meters away and attracting the target. I'll be responsible for ambushing the target along the way. We'll use walkie-talkies to communicate, and after you shoot, you can retreat from the safe route. If you find the demon spirit of a phantom monster, or if you need to protect yourself, you can use rune bullets. Do you understand? Understood. To put it simply, I'll be responsible for attracting the monsters while you'll be responsible for ambushing them. We'll use guerrilla warfare tactics and change locations after each shot. That's it. Is there a problem? Sir, how can you determine our target? I have the ability to see from afar. I can lock onto them from a distance. Manzajan was stunned. She then took a deep breath. I have no problem. As long as we can kill those monsters, I'll listen to all the arrangements. Well, let's move. I've already found the targets. A magic spirit and a magic fire spider. The 2 during the day? Yes, the 2 during the day. I've been keeping an eye on them. They didn't go too far. They're about 5,000 meters away from here. Xiaopingan led the way, while Manzajan carried her sniper rifle and followed Xiaopingan. The 2 ran toward the west. More than 10 minutes later, the 2 separated. Manzajan followed Xiaopingan's instructions and ran to the roof of a residential building. She found a sniper's position and began to search for the targets. After a while, Xiaopingan's voice came from Manzajan's military walkie-talkie. The 2 targets are about 1,300 meters to your right at 2 o'clock. There's an 8-story building over there. There's a beverage billboard on the upper floor facing you. The magic fire spider is on the roadside under the billboard. You can see the magic spirit of the phantom monster 20 meters to the southeast of the magic fire spider. Have you found the targets? Manzajan quickly found the targets in the light green scope of the sniper rifle. The magic fire spider was lying on the roadside, devouring a pet dog. The magic spirit of the phantom monster was like a maggot floating in the air, wriggling under a tree. Found the targets. Manzajan replied through the walkie-talkie. You have 2 chances to fire. The first shot can be used to kill the magic spirit with a rune bullet. The second shot can be used to shoot the magic fire spider. You can decide when to fire. The magic fire spider has a strong sense of direction. As long as you hit it, it can roughly determine where the bullet came from. So after you fire 2 shots, immediately retreat. If you encounter other monsters along the way, try to avoid them as much as possible. Understood. Manzajan quickly calmed down. She loaded a rune sniper bullet in the gun and locked onto the magic spirit through the scope. After eating the body-strengthening pill, Manzajan found that her current state was unprecedentedly good. After silently counting 2 breaths, Thor's scope had automatically calculated and corrected the bullet's trajectory. Bang! A muffled sound was heard in the silent night. Thor's huge recoil made Manzajan's body, which was lying on the roof, shake. The scene that came through the scope was exciting. Manzajan saw the magic spirit of the phantom monster he was aiming at. In the blink of an eye, it was like a lit candle burning fiercely. The bullet he fired passed through the magic fire spider's somewhat illusory body and hit the tree behind the magic fire spider. However, the rune flame on the bullet was automatically triggered the moment it passed through the magic fire spider's body. It suddenly burned. In the blink of an eye, the magic fire spider only struggled twice in the flames before it turned into ashes. He finally killed the magic fire spider's magic spirit. Manzajan was so excited that he almost shed tears. This was the first magic fire spider's magic spirit that he killed. The rune bullet was really powerful. For a magic fire spider's magic spirit, it was really a one-shot kill. The magic fire spider was alarmed. Manzajan's second shot was an ordinary antimaterial bullet, and it hit the magic fire spider's head. Seeing that the magic fire spider immediately sensed his location and rushed towards him, Manzajan immediately got up, picked up the sniper rifle, and quickly left the place. When the demon fire spider had just rushed out 300 to 400 meters and turned around from the back of a building, a small and cute black tortoise had already flown over. As if it had been waiting for it, the black tortoise bit the demon fire spider. The magic fire spider couldn't resist at all. The flames on its body and the light in its eyes were instantly extinguished, and its body was covered in a layer of snow-white frost. Xiao Pingan rushed out from behind a nearby building and took the magic fire spider into his secret mandala. Then, before the other demons arrived, he quickly retreated and met up with Manzajan. With one more person luring the magic fire spider, Xiao Pingan could more easily choose the battlefield and ambush point he wanted. Once he succeeded, he could calmly retreat. Just like a chivalrous hero, his efficiency was higher and he was incomparably cool. The devil fire spider that had once chased Xiao Pingan to the point of jumping off a cliff was as weak as a bubble in front of the somewhat cute black tortoise. It burst with a needle. Sure enough, there was always something to subdue it. Xiao Pingan had used up 1 rune bullet and 36 divine power to kill a phantom monster's demon spirit and a demon fire spider, earning 60 divine power. Xiao Pingan had won his first battle. Half an hour later, Xiao Pingan and Manzajan met up at a rendezvous point. The place where the two of them had killed the magic fire spider, and the magic fire spider suddenly had 7 or 8 large spiders and more than 20 demon rats. 3 magic fire spiders, magic fire spider, were scurrying around. After the two of them rested for a while, Xiao Pingan locked onto another target 10 kilometers away. That target was simple. It was only a single magic fire spider. An hour later, another gunshot rang out. Xiao Pingan calmly took the magic fire spider's corpse into his secret mandala, and then returned to the base with Manzajan. Manzajan wanted to continue, but Xiao Pingan didn't have much divine power left. He had less than 10 points. He had to wait for Shinli Dan to come out before he could continue to summon Xuanwu. The two of them rested in the base during the day and came out again at night. Chapter 110. The sniper rifle's bullets attracted 4 demonic fire spiders, 1 demonic liquid spider, and 7 demonic rats. This was a sports field of a middle school in the northwest of Xinchuan City. The devil fire spider was hit in the head by the sniper rifle's armor-piercing incendiary bullet. There was also a devil rat whose fur was burnt by the armor-piercing incendiary bullet. Following the direction of the bullet, they rushed into the school and arrived at the playground. What was waiting for them was only a black tortoise and 2 elite slave soldiers who had set up a killing trap. Xuanwu's ability to restrain demonic fire spiders and demonic liquid spiders was too strong. Without a doubt, those demonic fire spiders and demonic liquid spiders didn't even have a chance to resist. Xuanwu's body was like a mass of black water, carrying a powerful and terrifying ice-cold water energy. That ice-cold energy contained the aura of the netherworld. With one attack, it could annihilate all the vitality of those big spiders. As for the elite slave soldiers, when facing the demonic rats, their javelins also flew out. Those demonic rats, who wouldn't die even if they were hit in the head by a sniper rifle, were nailed to the ground by the javelins of the elite slave soldiers in the blink of an eye. Xiao Pingan had only discovered a few days ago that the Xuanwu he summoned wasn't static but could change. He had only explored the tip of the iceberg of Xuanwu's ability. The Xuanwu he summoned with 36 points of divine power was slightly bigger than his palm, and could only attack once before dissipating. The Xuanwu he summoned with 72 points of divine power was twice as big as before, and could attack twice. This time, the Xuanwu he summoned with 180 points of divine power was already as majestic as a small millstone. When the 5 big spiders and 7 demonic rats rushed in, the millstone-sized Xuanwu opened its mouth and spat out a gust of black cold air. The 5 spiders and 7 demon rats were instantly frozen by the black cold air. Their movements slowed down a lot, and they moved in slow motion. The elite slave soldiers threw their javelins. Xuanwu's feet didn't touch the ground. He stepped on a few black waves and rushed in front of the spiders. His snake-shaped head opened its mouth again, and 5 black water balls flew out of Xuanwu's mouth and landed on the 5 spiders' bodies. The 5 spiders' bodies were covered in white frost, and their vitality was instantly extinguished. Xuanwu also disappeared. The javelins of the two elite slave soldiers were still flying out. In the blink of an eye, the small school sports field was covered in white frost, and there was not a single monster left. Not until then did Xia Pingan, who had just swallowed another 8 LV, 1 Shinli Dan, jump down from the spectator stand and arrive at the battlefield. He then stored all the spoils of war in his space warehouse. In the past few days, Xia Pingan really experienced how cool it was to be a summoner with sufficient divine power. In such a battle, he basically didn't need to participate in it himself. He only needed to stand aside, like an onlooker and commander, strategize, and decide the outcome of the battle from 100 meters away. Then, he could use his summoned creatures to easily settle everything. The killing traps and ambushes he set up were like an arena, and he was the ruler of the spectator stand. The fate of those monsters who entered the arena was under his control. Everything was that simple. Because he had sufficient divine power, it was no longer a luxury to summon 2 elite slave soldiers to assist him in the battle by consuming 20 points of divine power. Furthermore, he didn't suffer a loss. Elite slave soldiers were the nemesis of demonic rats. After summoning an elite slave soldier, as long as it was used properly, it could easily kill 4 demonic rats and earn enough. After earning enough, the elite slave soldiers could still do a lot of things before the arrival time, such as spying, scouting, searching, luring monsters, rescuing other people trapped in the city, further expanding the range of their activities, or setting up a deceptive array to lure other monsters away, or to the killing array that Xia Pingan had set up. In short, elite slave soldiers were very useful. These days, the small village in Xia Pingan's secret mandala had been boisterous and full of vitality. It started to look like a small village. The number of farmer and farmer women in the village had already exceeded 60, 10 craftsmen and 5 pharmacists. All of them were summoned by Cangjia. The former space warehouse had been full. Now, in the secret mandala, some craftsmen were leading over 20 farmer women to expand the former space warehouse. After the expansion, the former space warehouse was many times larger than before. Xia Pingan didn't know that the space warehouse could be expanded in this way. Xia Pingan had just collected the corpses of the monsters when he heard another gunshot in the distant darkness. Another gunshot. It was Manzijin who fired the gun. These 2 gunshots meant that Manzijin should have dealt with 2 more demon spirits of phantom monsters that had been lured over. Right now, Manzijin had 20 to 30 rune armor-piercing incendiary bombs on him. He could be said to be rich and overbearing. At this time, he would usually avoid or hide when he discovered a monster and would not open fire. Only when he discovered the demon spirit of a phantom monster would he seize the opportunity to open fire and kill it. Xia Pingan summoned the Black Dragon. He had the Black Dragon follow Manzijin and cover for her. The Black Dragon was very sensitive to the aura of monsters and could act as Manzijin's assistant. It could lead Manzijin to avoid some dangerous areas and be on guard for Manzijin. When necessary, it could also cover for Manzijin's retreat. The cooperation between Manzijin and himself was becoming more and more tacit. The cooperation between the Black Dragon and Manzijin was also becoming smoother and smoother. These days, Xia Pingan's area of activity and battlefield had gradually expanded from the outskirts of Xinchuan City to the edge of the city. At this moment, the surrounding area of the school was a residential area on the edge of the city. Xia Pingan glanced at Manzijin with his remote vision ability. He saw that a kilometer away, Manzijin had put away her gun after firing 2 shots. She was quickly moving to a safe spot outside the city. She didn't continue to fight. At the same time, Manzijin had also set up a time bomb. When the bomb exploded in a few minutes, it would attract nearby monsters and create an opportunity for Xia Pingan. Xia Pingan also quickly left the school sports field. Under the cover of darkness, he quickly ran through the shadows and alleys on the street with the 2 elite slave soldiers, approaching the city. The plan for tonight was for Manzijin to retreat after the 2 of them completed the ambush. At the same time, They would create a small-scale explosion to attract the attention of the magical creatures. Xiaopinggan would then continue to investigate deeper into the city to see where the magical rats that Man Zijin had mentioned before had moved the corpses. A lot of people had died in Xinchuan City that night and in the subsequent evacuation process. But at this moment, there weren't many corpses on the street. Xiaopinggan felt that something bad was going on behind this. In just a few minutes, Xiaopinggan had passed through several streets. After running more than a kilometer in the dark, he approached the main road of Xinchuan City. In front of the main road, there were several wrecked tanks, more than 10 devil fire spiders, and dozens of devil fire rats wandering around. It wouldn't be easy to pass through. Xiaopinggan took the 2 elite slave soldiers to hide in a damaged shop on the side of the street, and patiently waited for a while. 2 minutes later, an explosion was heard in the distant darkness. Those devil fire spiders and devil fire rats wandering on the street all turned their heads to look at the distant flames. They were obviously alarmed. Then, without prior consultation, they rushed toward the place where the explosion came from. All of a sudden, the street was empty. Xiaopinggan ran through this street. After running for a while, he discovered that there were demonic fire spiders blocking the way. Moreover, there was a large group of them. He immediately ordered an elite slave soldier to leave and make some noise on another street to attract those demonic fire spiders away. After doing this twice, and using the 2 elite slave soldiers to attract monsters, Xiaopinggan gradually went deep into Xinchuan City. Using his remote vision, he didn't see many corpses on the surface of Xinchuan City. Since those corpses weren't on the ground, it was most likely that they were underground. As the provincial capital of Xinchuan City, there were several super large underground shelters. Each shelter could accommodate more than 100,000 people. Xiaopinggan planned to take a look at those underground shelters. After arriving at the entrance of a large underground shelter, Xiaopinggan suddenly sucked in a mouthful of cold air. The several passages inside the underground shelter were densely packed with devil fire spiders. There were no less than several thousand of them. He simply couldn't enter. However, there were too many monsters here. There was clearly something fishy. Seeing a few demonic fire spiders walking over, seemingly patrolling, Xiaopinggan hurriedly retreated from the entrance. Since he couldn't enter through the normal passage, he had to think of another way. A few minutes later, Xiaopinggan found an air vent in a building near the fallout shelter. He crawled into the air vent and slowly crawled into the fallout shelter through the air vent. These super large underground shelters had more than one air vent. Moreover, in order to prevent devil fire rats from entering through the air vent, the size of the air vent was specially designed. It was impossible for devil fire rats to enter through the air vent. Xiaopinggan slowly crawled into the shelter through the air vent without making the slightest noise. Inside the ventilation duct, there were isolation bars and anti-intrusion scanners to prevent foreign objects from entering. Fortunately, Xiaopinggan had a lot of tools in his space warehouse. When he encountered the metal isolation bars, he directly used the small acetylene cutter used by the special forces to cut them off, trying not to make any noise. As for the scanners in the ventilation duct, because the entire underground shelter had been destroyed and the monitoring equipment could no longer operate, those scanners naturally could no longer work. Xiaopinggan moved forward little by little. Half an hour later, he finally entered the innermost part of the shelter. Through an air vent, he saw the inside of the shelter from top to bottom. Below the shelter, a huge pit had been dug out. Densely packed corpses were piled up in the large pit, wrapped in coils of spider silk like mummies. On the ground, on the walls, and on the hanging spider silk, there were corpses everywhere. There were so many that it was hard to count. As for the magic fire spiders and magic liquid spiders, they were laying their eggs at the bottom of the pit, filling it with dense spider eggs. In just a few days, the devil fire spiders and devil liquid spiders were preparing to use this place as their nest. If those spider eggs hatched completely, it would definitely be a disaster. The corpses wrapped in spider silk like mummies were the food that the devil fire spiders and devil liquid spiders prepared for their children. P.S. 2 updates today. Chapter 111. Xiao Pingon hid in the ventilation pipe. Looking at the huge spider nest and countless spider eggs, his heart couldn't help but sink. The space below was really too big. With his current divine power, he could summon fireballs and elite slave soldiers, but they couldn't clean up all the things below. They could only clean up a very, very small part, which wouldn't be of much use. Moreover, they would alert the enemy. Xiao Pingon saw that there were 7 or 8 demon fire spiders patrolling inside the spider nest. The Requiem flag could perform a requiem on the corpses here and take the corpses away with the corpse controlling spell, but it wouldn't be of any use, because there were even more large spiders outside. Even if he could control the corpses, he couldn't take them away. Xiao Pingon watched for a while, then climbed back along the ventilation pipe and returned to the building. There were 2 more shelters of the same level in the city. After returning to the building, Xiao Pingon quietly left the building and continued to explore. After expending 3 elite slave soldiers to lure away some demonic fire spiders and demonic liquid spiders blocking the way, Xiao Pingon used the same method to crawl into the other 2 super large shelters. Fortunately, one of the 2 super large underground shelters was occupied by demon rats. There were many demon rats in the shelter, but they weren't as scary as this one. There were also some demon fire spiders in the other underground shelter, but those demon fire spiders didn't lay eggs. They just treated the shelter as an ordinary underground nest. While exploring the second shelter, Xiao Pingon passed by the city gymnasium. Xiao Pingon's heart skipped a beat. He directly ran to the residential area where he had stayed before. He saw that his pickup truck was still parked in its original parking space. There was only some dust on it. The vehicle wasn't damaged at all. Xiao Pingon directly put his pickup truck into the space warehouse. The pickup truck was smaller than a demon fire spider, so it was easy to put it into the space warehouse. Before dawn, Xiao Pingon left the city and returned to the rendezvous point with Manzijin. These days, in addition to the base of the Special Logistics Department, the 2 found 2 places outside the city where they could stay. This time, the gathering place was at a bus hub outside the city. The hub station was full of buses. Some buses had been burned to the point that only their shells were left. Some bus windows were broken. The iron gate of the hub station was tilted to one side. As there were vehicles, iron sheets, and icy mechanical equipment everywhere, demon rats and huge spiders were not interested in these things. Therefore, fewer demon rats and huge spiders wandered here than in other places. There were several office buildings and vehicle repair workshops in the hub station. The meeting point of the 2 was in a messy conference room above the repair workshop. Seeing Xiao Pingon return, the black dragon pounced on him and licked Xiao Pingon's palm. Manzijin could only watch enviously. He liked the black dragon very much. The black dragon had become his partner, but unfortunately, he was not a summoner. The black dragon always had a master. Xiao Pingon touched the black dragon's head, and the black dragon obediently ran downstairs to stand guard. "Sir, did you find anything?" Manzijin asked when she saw Xiao Pingon's serious expression. "The situation is more serious than we thought. I finally know where the monsters hid the corpses." Xiao Pingon told Manzijin about what he saw in the underground fallout shelter. Hearing that there might be hundreds of thousands of magic fire spider and magic liquid spider eggs in the spider nest, Manzijin's expression changed. If all the spiders in the spider nest hatch, the consequences will be unimaginable. Wouldn't the entire Xinchuan be completely destroyed? We will never be able to recapture this city in the future, and even many places around Xinchuan City will become the world of those monsters in the future. Manzijin asked. As a soldier, besides revenge, Manzijin had always been thinking about how to recapture the lost Xinchuan City from the hands of those monsters, and then drive them away and eliminate them. "I'm afraid so. I think it won't take long for those spider eggs to hatch. If we want to destroy the spider nest now, there are only 2 ways. The first way is to find other summoners and troops, draw up a plan, and storm into the city, before the other spiders and demon rats in Xinchuan City can react. We will completely destroy the monster nest." "Sir, I'm afraid that's very difficult." Manzijin thought for a moment and shook her head. The people we met these days were all thinking of escaping. There may be some soldiers and a few summoners outside the city, but it will take too long to find and gather those people. Even if we gather them, those people may not listen to us. Xiao Pingan also nodded. So now there is only the second way. We have to find powerful bombs and weapons, bring the bombs into the spider nest, and detonate them to destroy the spider nest. At this time, since manpower was limited, they could only rely on weapons. As long as they didn't encounter demonic spirits, powerful firearms were actually very lethal to those monsters. Manzijin pondered for a moment. She was the most qualified to speak on this issue. To destroy the spider nest, the most effective weapons are thermobaric bombs or fuel air explosive bombs. These two weapons are the two most powerful conventional weapons in the army. If a thermobaric bomb is detonated inside the underground shelter, it can collapse the underground shelter. If a fuel air explosive bomb is detonated inside, the fuel air explosive and the fuel air explosive bomb can use air as fuel. It can produce a high temperature and flame of more than 2,500 degrees for a long time, which can destroy the spider eggs in the spider nest. The 87th Legion should have these two types of bombs, right? Yes. Manzijin nodded. Where can we get them? When I was in Xinchuan, there were two types of bombs in the ammunition depot at the Qingfeng Air Force Base, 60 kilometers north of Xinchuan. However, I don't know what the situation is at the Qingfeng Air Force Base now. Moreover, these two types of bombs are not small. The lightest of them is more than a ton. As Man Zijin spoke, she gritted her teeth. If we can find these two bombs, we'll install them in the car. We'll come up with a plan. Sir, you'll lure the spiders away from the nest, and I'll drive the car in and detonate it. Even if I have to sacrifice my life, I'll destroy the nest. Xiao Pingan glanced at Manzijin. As long as we can find the bombs, I have a way to send them in. Rest first. When it gets dark, we will set off and take a look at the Qingfeng Air Base. Yes, sir. The two of them ate, rested, and waited until it got dark. During the day, two demonic rats went to the courtyard of the hub station and walked around. They didn't find anything, so they left. The two of them waited until it got dark before leaving the base. Under the cover of the night, they began to run towards the Qingfeng Air Base 60 kilometers north of Xinchuan. Driving was too conspicuous and would attract the attention of magical creatures. Therefore, Xiao Pingan chose to walk through the wilderness. On the way, they encountered 3 demonic fire spiders and 7 demonic rats, which were killed by the two of them. For Xiao Pingan, they had gained a little more. Manzijin hadn't eaten many body-strengthening pills, but her physical strength had improved significantly. When Xiao Pingan wasn't in a hurry, she could still barely keep up with Xiao Pingan's footsteps. After a few small-scale battles and a night of rushing, the two of them finally arrived at the Qingfeng Air Base that Manzijin had mentioned at around 4 o'clock in the morning. The airport was built on an open flat ground in a valley. On both sides of the airport were green mountains with a biting cold aura. 3 demonic fire spiders and more than 10 demonic rats were wandering around the runway of the airport. The fences and barbed wire outside the airport were damaged in many places. A few hangars were damaged. There were a few burnt fighter jets and a transport plane on the tarmac. The command tower, radar station, and other facilities of the airport seemed to have experienced a fire. They were all damaged to varying degrees. Around the airport, there were also some barracks and other buildings. The two of them were lying in the wilderness and observing. Some fighter jets must have received orders to fly away in time. Manzijin observed the airport with a night vision device. There were a lot more fighter jets here before. Where's the airport's ammunition depot? Xiao Pingan asked. The ammunition depot is built under the airport. I've been here before. Xiao Pingan used his remote vision to look around. The underground ammunition warehouse was deeper, and his remote vision could not see through it. However, looking at the extent of the damage to the airport, there was a high possibility that the ammunition warehouse was still intact. Just as Xiao Pingan was sizing up the airport, a burst of intense gunfire suddenly came from the direction of the airport's barracks. Da-da-da-da. It was the sound of assault rifles. Xiao Pingan and Manzijin glanced at each other, as they didn't expect there would be someone here. Hearing the gunfire, the 3 demon fire spiders and more than 10 demon rats wandering around the airport were immediately attracted. They immediately rushed towards the place where the gunfire came from. Xiao Pingan made a hand gesture to Manzijin. After that, he also jumped up and rushed towards the place where the gunfire came from. Xiao Pingan's speed was needless to say. He soon arrived at the place where the gunfire came from. It was in a barrack. 2 soldiers in military uniforms were shooting at 2 demon rats from the window of a barrack. The 2 demon rats were bleeding all over. Xiao Pingan glanced at them with his remote vision and saw that the 2 soldiers were carrying 2 large military backpacks, which were full of canned food and mineral water. One of them was desperately chewing a ham sausage while shooting. It seemed that he was very hungry. F*CK, come on, you could be *starts. The other soldier roared. Seeing a demon fire spider rushing towards them, the 2 soldiers changed their faces at once. One of them dropped his assault rifle and turned around to pick up a rocket launcher. He then launched a rocket towards the demon fire spider. The rocket launcher didn't hit the demon fire spider as it dodged away. The rocket launcher hit a truck parked in the distance and directly blew it apart, causing a large flame. As the demonic fire spider approached, the faces of the 2 soldiers were filled with despair. Chapter 112. Xiao Pingan arrived at the right time. When that demon fire spider was about to reach the barracks where the 2 soldiers were guarding, Xiao Pingan approached from the side. Only by pointing at that demon fire spider, a small and cute Xuanwu came out. The black tortoise flew towards the devil fire spider, and the devil fire spider turned into an ice sculpture covered in white frost. At the same time, Xiao Pingan waved his hand to summon 2 elite slave soldiers. The 2 elite slave soldiers then threw out their javelins, nailing the 2 demon rats to the ground the moment they arrived at the front of the fighter's house. The 2 soldiers were already in despair at the sight of the demon fire spider. However, they didn't expect that there would be reinforcements. Or relief. Seeing that the demon fire spider was frozen and the 2 javelins nailed the 2 demon rats to the ground, the 2 soldiers knew that a summoner had arrived. Then they saw Xiao Pingan rushing out. The battle was not over yet. Xiao Pingan directly rushed towards the remaining 2 demon fire spiders, while the slave soldiers he summoned rushed towards the other demon rats. 2 fiery spider silks flew over from afar like 2 rapidly burning fuses, trying to entangle Xiao Pingan. Xiao Pingan leaped up while running like an antelope leaping among thorns. He somersaulted in the air and penetrated through the gap between the 2 fiery spider silks. The moment he landed, a cute Xuanwu was summoned by Xiao Pingan. That Xuanwu stepped on black waves like a black fairy and directly flew to the head of the nearest demon fire spider. With one bite, Xuanwu's body turned into black water vapor and covered that demon fire spider. The flames on that demon fire spider instantly disappeared, and its whole body was covered with white frost. Because he didn't know how many of these big spiders he would encounter tonight, Xiao Pingan prepared to summon several Xuanwu in the secret mandala with 36 points of divine power. Although this basic version of Xuanwu had only one ability, its advantage was that it wouldn't be wasted. One Xuanwu could eliminate 1 enemy. At this moment, the elite slave soldiers summoned by Xiao Pingan threw 3 rounds of javelins and killed 6 demon rats without any suspense. Seeing that the situation was bad, the remaining 2 demon rats turned around and ran. The 2 elite slave soldiers once again pulled out their javelins and chased after the 2 demon rats. These demon beasts were all intelligent. Knowing that they were no match, they would run away. Seeing that its 2 companions had lost their vital signs, the last demon fire spider also turned around and ran away. How could Xiao Pingan let such a fat piece of meat escape? Xiao Pingan exerted force on his feet and fiercely rushed forward. His running speed was not slower than that of the fleeing demon fire spider. Instead, he was even a bit faster. Before the last magic fire spider could run 100 meters, Xiao Pingan had already caught up to it. After easily dodging a few burning spider webs, A basic version of the mini black tortoise was once again summoned. The battle ended in a split second. The two elite slave soldiers summoned by Xiaopingan nailed the last two demon rats to the grassland beside the airport runway. The two soldiers with weapons and food on their backs had already come out of the barracks. They looked at everything in front of them with shock. They had seen summoners before, but they had never seen such a powerful summoner. The three demon fire spiders and the group of demon rats were actually killed by Xiaopingan in just a few moves. The fiery threads spat out by the demon fire spiders fell on the ground and were still burning. The truck that was hit by the rocket was also burning. The flames in the dark and the scattered corpses of demon rats were silently telling the story of the battle that had just taken place here. Looking at the frozen demon fire spider not far away, the two soldiers were still a bit frightened. They couldn't help swallowing their saliva. Xiaopingan walked over amidst the burning flames. The flames illuminated Xiaopingan's face, as well as the 87th Division's priest emblem on his chest. "Are you all right, sir?" After seeing Xiaopingan's face and Xiaopingan's priest badge on his chest, the two soldiers were excited. They immediately stood at attention and saluted Xiaopingan. Seeing the respected priest of the Legion at such a time, the two soldiers were so excited that they almost shed tears. You didn't evacuate either?" "I didn't leave. I've been fighting in Xinchuan City all this time." "Which unit are you from?" "Sir, we're from the Qingfeng Air Force Airport Garrison Camp." The soldier who used the rocket launcher earlier replied. "I'm sure Yunhao, and he's Tao Yang. You two didn't evacuate?" "Not just the two of us. I brought a few other brothers from my class to guard the airport's ammunition depot." Sure Yunhao replied. "You have other people?" Xiaopingan was surprised. "Yes, we were guarding this airport's ammunition depot before. We also received the order to evacuate, but we didn't. The airport's ammunition depot is in an underground bunker. As long as we don't get discovered, we can hold on for a long time." Sure Yunhao said. "There's a lot of good stuff in the airport's ammunition depot. Many of them were just transported here by the transport plane." Squad leader Sure said that if we left, those things might get blown up or destroyed by the monsters. "That would be a waste. We have to guard this place. Those things won't get damaged. We can still use them when the troops come back and kill monsters." The squad leader asked everyone's opinion, and everyone is willing to stay here and wait for the troops to come back. Tao Yang said, "There's no more food in the ammunition depot." Tonight, the squad leader brought me out to the barracks to get some food before bringing it back, but we didn't expect to encounter a demon rat. While they were talking, Manzajan, who was carrying a sniper rifle, quickly ran towards them, panting heavily. "Sir, more than 10 demon fire spiders, 7 demon liquid spiders, and a large group of demon rats have just heard the noise from the airport. They're approaching the airport. Hurry up, we can enter the underground ammunition depot. There's an emergency passage for personnel to enter and exit. We came out through the emergency passage. Those monsters can't enter." Sure Yunhao said at once. "Manzajan, you, and the two of them hide in the underground ammunition depot first. I will lead those monsters away. Those monsters have already heard the noise here. If we don't lead them away, a large number of monsters will gather here. The underground ammunition depot might be exposed." "Ah, sir, it's too dangerous." Sure Yunhao said at once. "Carry out the order at once," Xiaopingan said. Without further explanation, he ran out of the barracks with the two elite slave soldiers and disappeared in the darkness in the blink of an eye. Seeing Xiaopingan's disappearing figure, Sure Yunhao clenched his teeth. Without saying anything else, he immediately led Manzajan towards the emergency passage to the underground bunker. As soon as Xiaopingan rushed out of the airport, he saw a large group of monsters aggressively rushing towards the airport. He directly rushed over with the two elite slave soldiers. The elite slave soldiers threw 2 javelins and killed 2 demon rats. Xiaopingan then released a fireball from afar, burning another demon rat to ashes. The fireball in the darkness was too eye-catching. It was simply telling all the monsters that he was a summoner and wanted to kill him. With this, the eyes of the surrounding monsters all turned red. All the monsters' attention was immediately attracted by Xiaopingan. In the blink of an eye, threads of flame spider silk that could burn Xiaopingan to ashes, and highly corrosive sticky spider silk that could melt him into ashes were spat at him. One by one, the demon rats charged at him fearlessly. Summoners were existences that these monsters were afraid of, but as long as they had the upper hand, these monsters would hate the summoner to the bone and would kill him. After successfully luring the monsters, Xiaopingan ran away, rushing towards the mountains in the distance. A large group of monsters followed behind Xiaopingan, aggressively chasing him into the mountains. If there were fewer spiders, Xiaopingan would be able to eat them all in one go. However, the number of monsters attracted was a little too much. It was beyond Xiaopingan's appetite and ability. Therefore, Xiaopingan could only run away first and lure these monsters from the airport to the mountains. It was not until dawn that Xiaopingan got rid of those monsters and returned to the airport. Chapter 113. The airport was still the same as last night. The corpses of those demon rats and demon fire spiders were still there. Of course, Xiaopingan would not waste these spoils of war. Starting from outside the airport, he collected the corpses of 3 demon fire spiders and 11 demon rats, and put them all into the space teleportation warehouse. After collecting these demon corpses, Xiaopingan imagined Manzijan's image in his mind. The moment he closed his eyes, he immediately found Manzijan's figure with his long-distance vision ability. At this moment, Manzijan was in a grove of maple trees outside the barracks of the airport. Dressed in a ghillie suit, Manzijan let himself lie down under a pile of maple leaves and used the scope of his sniper rifle to look at the airport. She was waiting for Zhang Tai to come back. Xiaopingan detoured out of the barracks and directly ran towards the grove of maple trees. A few seconds later, the walkie-talkie he carried with him rang. "Sir, I see you. The emergency passage to the underground ammunition depot is in the grove of maple trees over 500 m to the east of you. I'm also in the grove of maple trees." Manzijan's relieved voice sounded from the walkie-talkie. "I see you too. I'll be there soon," Xiaopingan replied as he quickly passed through the area between the barracks and the grove of maple trees and came to the grove of maple trees. Manzijan climbed up from a pile of leaves and ran towards Zhang Tai happily with his sniper rifle. "Sir, are you okay?" "I'm fine. The emergency passage to the underground ammunition depot is in the grove," Manzijan said as he ran towards the grove with Xiaopingan. The ground in the grove of maple trees was not very flat. There were some exposed rocks in many places. This place was already outside the military airport and was separated from the airport by an iron wire fence. Ordinary people might not have imagined that there was an emergency passage to the underground ammunition depot in the grove near the barracks of the military airport. This design was indeed ingenious. Manzijan led Xiaopingan to a place with more rocks after walking hundreds of meters in the grove. Manzijan pointed at a huge maple tree in the grove and made a gesture towards it. Xiaopingan looked over and found a surveillance camera cleverly hidden in the tree hole above the huge maple tree. The camera was hidden in the tree hole, and only the lens was facing this area of rocks. A stone the size of a millstone suddenly opened up from a pile of rocks like a missile silo, revealing a dark hole under the stone. Sure Yunhao's head popped out from under the stone. With an expectant smile on his face, he waved at Xiaopingan and said, "Here." Xiaopingan and Manzijan walked over. There was a passage inside the cave that led underground. The two of them entered the cave and went down about 2 meters. There was a small platform, and beside the small platform was a narrow passage. There was also a monitor that could see the situation outside, allowing people to see the situation outside from here. Sure Yunhao pressed a switch, and the stone closed up again. Not a single ray of light from the outside could come in. There was a dark red light inside the entrance, so it was not completely dark. In the past few days in Xinchuan City, the entire city was pitch black at night, without a single light. Only those monsters were wandering around. Seeing the lights again, it felt really good. causing Xiaoping's whole body to relax. Shi Yunhao led Xiaoping towards the narrow passage. The passage spiraled downward. After going more than 20 meters underground, a thick alloy safety door appeared in front of them. Shi Yunhao raised his head and glanced at the surveillance monitor above the safety door. The safety door was open from the inside. The switches of all the doors here are inside. They can only be opened from the inside. They cannot be opened from the outside, Shi Yunhao explained to Xiaoping. After entering the safety door closed. There was a stairwell inside. Shi Yunhao opened the elevator door and entered it. There were only 2 buttons in the elevator shaft. One was B1, the other was B2. Shi Yunhao pressed B2, causing the elevator to rapidly descend. After descending for about 100 meters, the light of B2 finally lit up. The elevator door opened. Walking out of the elevator door, they saw another narrow passage that was dozens of meters long with dark red light bulbs. At the end of the passage was another thick safety door with a surveillance monitor. After opening the safety door, the 3 people entered inside. After the safety door closed, the dark red light finally disappeared. The light behind the safety door became brighter. The moment Xiaoping entered, a lot of soldiers immediately swarmed towards him and surrounded Xiaoping. They all looked at him with excited eyes. "Sir, is it our troops?" "Sir, how's Xinchuan City?" "Sir, is the 87th Legion preparing to reopen the Air Force airport?" "Sir." Xiaoping was a priest of the Legion. He was not a military officer. He only enjoyed the treatment of a military officer. Strictly speaking, it was inappropriate to call him sir. In the past, this position was addressed as Lord Priest. However, there was no such title anymore. These soldiers were used to calling people sir. When they saw someone with a higher position than them, they would either address him as sir or general. Since Xiaoping was not a general, many of them were used to calling him sir. This seemed to be more intimate. These soldiers were too excited. They did not expect to see the priest of the 87th Legion here. Previously, when Shi Yunhao and Tao Yang said that they saw Xiaoping outside, these soldiers did not believe it. Now that they saw him in person, they were indescribably excited. "What are you all doing? It's such a mess. This is not a market. We are soldiers." Shi Yunhao's face turned serious. He immediately shouted, "87th Legion, Qingfeng Air Force Airport Garrison Camp, Ammunition Depot Guard Squad, assemble." Upon hearing this, the warriors who had just gathered in a group immediately quivered and gathered in front of Xiaoping. They stood in a neat row with their heads held high and their chests puffed out. At ease. "Attention, count off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The 9 people standing in a row began to roar one after another. Shi Yunhao was the one who reported the number 10. After shouting 10, Shi Yunhao turned around, stood at attention, and saluted Xiaoping. Then he said loudly, "The 87th Legion's Qingfeng Air Force Airport Garrison Camp's Ammunition Depot Guard Squad has 10 people on standby and 10 people on standby. No one is absent. Please inspect them, sir." Xiaoping took a deep breath and nodded as he looked at the sincere and fervent faces and the eyes that flickered with the light of hope. At ease, the 10 people's movements were neat and uniform as they stood in front of Xiaoping. "Everyone asked me a lot of questions just now. I will answer your questions first." Xiaoping stood in front of all the soldiers in the guard squad and said, "The 87th Legion has been scattered. The situation is probably very bad now. I have been fighting those invading creatures in Xinchuan for the past few days. I have been trying to contact the 87th Legion, but I haven't been able to. Judging from the situation and signs, the demonic spirit wave that appeared that night didn't just appear in Izhou province. It might be nationwide or even global. I haven't seen any aircraft or drones in Xinchuan for the past few days. Therefore, my preliminary judgment is that the Great Fire Country is probably in a state of anarchy and is very chaotic." The soldiers standing in a row immediately tensed up. Many of them looked at each other in dismay. Some of them even clenched their teeth tightly. Because the people standing in front of me are the strongest and bravest soldiers of the Great Fire Country. You're a group of soldiers who are still guarding the ammunition depot in a desperate situation, guarding the hope of the 87th Legion to counterattack. Therefore, I feel that I can't lie to you. I have to tell you the actual situation outside. I'm not here to represent the Legion or anyone else. I'm only here to represent myself. Xia Pingan's gaze swept across the faces of the soldiers. Your defense here is meaningful. If you didn't defend this place, this ammunition depot might not exist anymore. The reason I'm here is to find powerful weapons. Those magic fire spiders and magic liquid spiders had built a huge nest in the largest underground shelter in Xinchuan City. They laid a lot of eggs in the nest, hundreds of thousands of them. Moreover, they had stored the corpses of many brothers of the 87th Regiment, as well as the corpses of the dead Xinchuan citizens in the nest. They wanted to use those corpses as food for the eggs to hatch. I need bombs. The more powerful the bombs, the better. I want to bring the bombs back to Xinchuan City and use them to destroy those monster nests. I want those monsters to accompany our brothers of the 87th Legion and the fallen Xinchuan citizens. Hearing Xia Pingan's words, the soldiers standing in front of him all clenched their fists and gnashed their teeth. Their faces became resolute. The situation outside made their hearts sink to the bottom of the valley. However, after knowing that the bombs in the ammunition depot they were guarding could destroy the monster nests in Xinchuan City, the blood in their hearts surged. As long as the things in the ammunition depot were effective and could turn those monsters into ashes, they wouldn't have stayed here in vain. Their perseverance here would have meaning and value. Sir, we don't have a lot of other things in the ammunition depot, but we definitely have enough bombs of all kinds. We have a batch of the latest thermobaric bombs, and thermite bombs stored here. We also have a lot of other weapons and bombs. Sure, Yunhao said loudly. How many do we have? Xiao Pingan asked. If it's only thermobaric bombs, and thermite bombs, the amount of ammunition stored in this depot is enough to blow up Xinchuan City into ruins. Chapter 114. The entire military airport and this underground ammunition depot are covered with granite. The outer layer of this ammunition depot is several meters thick with reinforced concrete. Therefore, this place is very firm and could resist almost any attack. Even sandworms could not drill in. Sure, Yunhao explained as he guided Xia Pingan to walk in the ammunition depot. The other soldiers also followed him and guided Xia Pingan to visit this place. This huge ammunition depot was the reason why all the soldiers stationed here were willing to stay. The ammunition depot was very large. Like a modern warehouse, it was divided into several sections. The roads in the ammunition depot could even allow two vehicles to drive in side by side. Sure, Yunhao turned on the lighting switch of the ammunition depot with a pa sound, causing all the lights in the ammunition depot to light up one after another. Inside the storerooms, there were piles of unopened ammunition, weapons, and bombs piled up like mountains. Just looking at them was enough to shock anyone. Sure, Yunhao guided Xia Pingan to visit one warehouse after another. This warehouse contains heat-tracking missiles. This warehouse contains air-to-air missiles and some anti-radiation missiles. This warehouse contains air-dropped Mother Sun bombs. Mother Sun bombs are very effective against demon rats. However, they might also hurt people. Therefore, they can only be used in a deserted area. This warehouse is filled with some military supplies that have just arrived. Many of them have just arrived and have yet to be distributed to the troops. As he spoke, Shi Yunhao brought Xia Pingan to a warehouse. He opened up an ammunition box that contained weapons. Inside the ammunition box was something that looked like an anti-tank gun, a large and thick barrel. There were also several heavy ammunition that had tail fins attached to it. This is an individual fuel air explosive, the most powerful weapon that could be mastered by individual soldiers. Besides being a bit heavy, this thing is too powerful. It was first used by the Huaxia country's army. Many of them were imported from the Fire Country. However, they didn't have the time to popularize it in the army. Individual fuel air explosive. Xiao Pingan picked up the thing in the ammunition box. It was indeed a bit heavy. An individual fuel air explosive and a can-sized launcher weighed about 40 to 50 kilograms. Of course, this was for ordinary people. As long as they were strong enough, they would have no problem carrying this thing. If we could carry one of these things out, we could kill those demon fire spiders one by one. Tao Yang said, if we carry this thing out, how can we carry food back? This thing is too heavy. This thing is suitable for ambushes or defense. It's too powerful against those hiding in the houses. If we shoot it with our eyes closed, a small building will be destroyed. Our soldiers have good physical strength, but it's difficult for them to carry this thing for a long period of time. Each squad has one set and takes turns to carry it. A soldier added. Xiao Pingan nodded. He thought that he should be able to store a few thousand of these things in his spatial warehouse. Even if he ran out of divine power in the future, it would be fun to fight those demon fire spiders with these things. Everyone continued to look at the ammunition storehouse at the back. When the door of one of the ammunition storehouses was pushed open, they saw an entire storehouse full of weapons. These weapons were about as tall as a person and as thick as a bucket. They were painted dark green and filled with killing intent. These are the airdropped heavy fuel air explosive. There are more than 3,000 of them in this warehouse. The ones in the back are airdropped thermite incendiary bombs. There are more than 5,000 of them. The warehouse next to it is filled with thermobaric bombs. There are more than 1,000 of them. These things can only be transported out by vehicles. Shi Yunhao said to Xiao Pingan, the entrance of this ammunition warehouse was invaded by demon fire spiders and demon rats a few days ago. I ordered the entrance to be blown up, but we have engineering equipment such as bulldozers, excavators, and trucks in the warehouse. We can dig up the collapsed entrance again. It will take about a week or so. Yes, after digging up the entrance, we will drive these things to Xinchuan. Let's go all out, a soldier said. Yes, as long as we can kill those demons, we will go all out. We will definitely send these bombs to Xinchuan and blow up the nest of those spiders. Let those spiders be buried with our brothers who sacrificed their lives. Those soldiers were all fired up. Yes, we can't let the bodies of our brothers who sacrificed their lives be ruined by those demons. Although it was only a few dozen kilometers from here to Xinchuan, driving there was tantamount to breaking through the gates of hell. However, those soldiers were not afraid. They were all fired up. There's no need to dig up the entrance again. I have a way to get these things out. Xiao Pingan said. These big guys easily weigh a few tons. How can we get them out? Shi Yunhao asked doubtfully. The surrounding soldiers also looked at Xiao Pingan in confusion. Xiao Pingan did not speak again. He just put his hand on the pile of fuel air explosives in front of him. With a thought, the fuel air explosives suddenly disappeared in front of everyone, just like magic. Ah, where are the fuel air explosives? Why are they gone? A group of people stared at Xiao Pingan, dumbfounded. Shi Yunhao even walked around the empty place, trying to confirm if it was some kind of trick. In fact, it was not a secret that a summoner possessed a spatial equipment. It was not even considered news. There was more than one way for a summoner to master a spatial equipment. Apart from summoners like Xiao Pingan, who could transform the secret mandala after successfully fusing with Song Jie's realm pearl, summoners also had a spatial equipment, but it was needless to say how precious those spatial equipment were. These were all things that had existed since ancient times. However, there were not many summoners who could transform a spatial warehouse and spatial equipment into a spatial equipment in the secret mandala. Generally, they were kept secret and rarely displayed in front of ordinary people. Therefore, most people might not have the opportunity to see a summoner use a spatial equipment in their lifetime. Previously, when Xiao Pingan and Manzijin acted together, they saw some of the demon rats and demon fire spiders disappear one by one. In fact, Manzijin had more or less guessed something, but she did not say it. Now, Xiao Pingan publicly displayed his ability. At this time, if he still hid it, he would not be able to take these things away. Therefore, Xiao Pingon simply revealed his trump card. Needless to say, the surrounding soldiers were shocked. However, Manzajan revealed an expression of as expected. This is the legendary spatial equipment of a summoner? Shi Yunhao swallowed his saliva and asked intermittently. As a group of soldiers who were responsible for guarding the warehouse, they were more shocked by space teleportation equipment. If there were more space teleportation equipment, they would not need to guard the warehouse anymore. They could take the warehouse along with them when they retreated. That was too awesome. Xiao Pingon nodded. I still have a lot of ingredients in my spatial equipment. Today, I will treat you all to a drink and a hot pot. After being stunned for a second, the soldiers cheered at once. The hot pot was carried out in a completely empty warehouse that covered an area of 5 to 6 acres. The soldiers stationed in the warehouse usually ate and moved around here. In this empty warehouse, the soldiers entertained themselves. They even modified it into a basketball court and a bowling alley. The soldiers drove 2 forklifts in and raised the flippers of the forklifts to the height of the basketball hoop. They welded 2 iron rings on the top of the forklifts to form a basketball hoop. The ones used for bowling were the shells of anti-aircraft guns. Usually, everyone would play basketball here when they had nothing to do. They would also eat here to entertain themselves. The tables and chairs were the empty ammunition boxes. As for what Xiao Pingon said about eating hot pot and not having hot pot, it was too simple. The soldiers found a few brass shells from the howitzers, sawed open the shells, and washed them clean. Then they had hot pot, and it was made of brass. The generator room in the underground ammunition warehouse stored thousands of tons of diesel oil, so there was no shortage of energy. After adding water to the shells, they put them on the electric stove. Then, the hot pot could be cooked. This kind of hot pot could be regarded as a fresh start. A few days ago, Xiao Pingon carried out guerrilla warfare in Xinchuan City. He took the opportunity to sweep several suburban supermarkets. Therefore, his secret warehouse was now filled with all kinds of food, all kinds of supplies, all kinds of things, all kinds of drinks, and all kinds of drinks. Xiao Pingon waved his hand. Boxes of all kinds of beer, liquor, mineral water, all kinds of canned vegetables and meat that could be cooked immediately appeared in the warehouse. They were piled up like a small mountain. Xiao Pingon picked up a bottle of wine and said to everyone, no matter how many people we have, we will fight those monsters to the end. Long live the 87th Legion. This bottle of wine is a toast to everyone. Cheers! After that, Xiao Pingon finished the bottle of wine in one gulp. Long live the 87th Legion. Cheers! All the soldiers raised the bottle of wine and roared. They drank together. This time, the hot pot was incomparably enthusiastic. Shi Yunhao organized the soldiers in the class to take turns toasting Xiao Pingon. They wanted to make Xiao Pingon drunk, but they didn't expect that in the end. It was Xiao Pingon who made them all drunk. His body was already close to the inhuman level. That little bit of alcohol, for Xiao Pingon, was completely child's play. Even Manzajan was drunk. She held a soldier and danced, causing the others to laugh. When everyone was drunk to the point of falling to the ground, Xiao Pingon was the only one who was sober. Looking at the 11 people who were lying on the ground, Xiao Pingon lifted them up one by one from the ground of the warehouse and sent them back to their sleeping quarters. The soldiers stationed here slept in a small, empty warehouse. Everyone was sleeping on the floor and sleeping in sleeping bags. Everyone's nerves have been tense these days. Today was a good day to relax. After doing all this, Xiao Pingon returned to his room and sat down cross-legged. He took out the realm beads he had obtained yesterday and today. He had obtained 2 realm beads a few days ago. One was from the Swerin realm bead, and the other was from the Cho clan. He had no use for those 2 realm beads, so he had kept them. However, on the way here yesterday, Xiao Pingon's luck had returned. After a few battles, Xiao Pingon had obtained 2 usable realm beads. Tomorrow was November 11th, the 15th of the lunar calendar. If he fused with the realm beads today, he would be able to enjoy the benefits of an explosive increase in divine power tomorrow. Xiao Pingon took out the first realm bead. There were only 3 words on it: Liguasian. After dripping a drop of blood on it, Xiao Pingan was soon wrapped in a cocoon of light and entered the realm beads world. Chapter 115. Liguasian, this is the tiger you drew? It's ridiculous. You want to sell this kind of tiger for money? Are you bullying us because we have never seen a tiger before? Exactly. How is this a tiger? It doesn't look like one at all. It doesn't look majestic at all. It looks like a dog. As soon as Xiao Pingan opened his eyes, he saw that he was on the street. In front of him, there was a table with a drawing paper on it. There was a tiger drawn on the paper, and he was holding a pen in his hand. Many people beside him were pointing at him and whispering. Xiao Pingan looked behind him. There was a shelf behind him. There were 2 paintings hanging on a shelf. The paintings were of cattle. The cattle were drawn very well. It was very lifelike. Xiao Pingan understood at a glance that he was currently selling paintings on the street. Liguasian grew up in the countryside. He liked painting. There were a lot of cattle in the countryside. Liguasian had seen a lot of them. Therefore, Liguasian learned to draw cattle. After drawing a lot of cattle, Liguasian gradually became famous in the countryside. He became a painter and usually came to Tiantai City to sell his paintings. It was considered a way to make a living. At this moment, Liguasian was still young. He was only famous in the countryside of Jiangxi province. He wasn't as famous as he was later. Liang Taizu couldn't help but invite him to the palace to chat and ask him questions. Xiao Pingan immediately understood his current situation. Right in front of the painting stall, a man in satin who looked like a country squire pointed to the tiger on the paper and glared at Xiao Pingan with dissatisfaction. He pointed at the painting and said, "Your tiger looks like a dead one. Those who don't know might think it's a dog. I've already told you that I'm going to buy this painting and hang it up. How can I show it to others with your painting? You're even asking for 100 yuan? I won't give you any money." The country gentleman snorted coldly and left. Xiao Pingan looked at the tiger on the painting in front of him. It didn't look like a tiger. It didn't have the spirit of a tiger. It was soft. Liguasian had probably seen a tiger skin before. That's why he could draw this kind of painting. At a nearby painting stall, an artist with a goatee who specialized in selling landscape paintings came over. He looked at the tiger painting in front of Xiao Pingan and suddenly sneered. He raised his goatee proudly and said to Xiao Pingan, "Boy, I guess you haven't even seen a live tiger before. You actually dare to sell tiger paintings. Do you know that people who buy paintings of tigers will hang them in the living room or study room for people to admire them? You're from the countryside. You better go back to your painting of cows." The people around him burst out laughing. As his business failed, Xiao Pingan resisted the impulse to draw another fierce tiger on the spot. Instead, he directly tore that painting into pieces and started to pack up. As he packed up the painting stall, Xiao Pingan had a question. If he could draw a vivid, fierce tiger and completely change the historical track of Liguasian, would he be considered to have successfully integrated with this realm bead? After thinking about it for a short while, Xiao Pingan came to a conclusion. Liguasian's painting of tigers was a historical illusion that inspired numerous people. Without Liguasian's later experiences, this illusion would not exist. Therefore, Liguasian who could draw tigers would become ordinary. What was the difference between him and other artists who could draw fierce tigers? After thinking for a short while, Xiao Pingan felt that the fierce tiger that he had drawn was not good enough for Liguasian to leave his name in history. He might fail to integrate with this realm bead. Therefore, he treated the process of integrating with this realm bead as a rare opportunity to pay homage to Liguasian and improve his painting ability. Xiao Pingan wanted to see how far he could improve his painting skills according to Liguasian's method. In this world, especially in China, when children talked about painting, they would often think of the story of Leonardo da Vinci's drawing of eggs and regarded Leonardo da Vinci as the idol of painters. Liguasian was a strange name to many people. What many people didn't know was that 500 years before Leonardo da Vinci, there was a young man called Liguasian during the 5 dynasties of China. He had put in much more effort to learn how to draw than Leonardo da Vinci's drawing of eggs. That was the true spirit of craftsmen and masters. Xiao Pingan didn't know where Li Guizhen lived. Therefore, he could only ask people on the way back to his home. Li Guizhen must have lost his mind. He even forgot where his home is. Someone who knew Li Guizhen muttered in astonishment when he saw Li Guizhen asking about his home. I heard that Li Guizhen made a fool of himself at the fair today. He was so embarrassed that it's normal for him to lose his soul. Li Guizhen's home was in the countryside outside Tian'ai City. It wasn't too rich, but it wasn't too poor either. His parents were still alive. They had over 100 mu of land and a few cows. He had gained some fame as a painter in the countryside over the years, so he had some wealth. After returning home, Xiao Pingan searched Li Guizhen's bedroom and found a box of money that Li Guizhen had accumulated over the years. For the next 2 days, Xiao Pingan didn't go anywhere. He waited at home and prepared the things he needed to enter the mountains. Li Guizhen's parents knew that Li Guizhen had been ridiculed, so they comforted Li Guizhen with a few words. On the 15th day of the month, there was a fair in the city. The entire Tian'ai city was bustling with noise and excitement. People from all around rushed to the city to participate in the fair. Xiao Pingan brought some money and the things he needed to enter the mountains and return to the city. Today, the flow of people in the city was several times more than usual. The streets were bustling with noise and excitement. Young women, and businessmen all came. Xiao Pingan walked around the city for a while before arriving at the market where mountain goods were sold. The people selling mountain goods here were all farmers and hunters from the mountains. Xiao Pingan walked around the market and found that an old hunter's business was very good. The old hunter was in his 50s. He was strong and energetic. He carried a kitchen knife on his back and looked simple and honest. He sold a few leopard skins, 2 wolf skins, a few golden pheasants, and 2 rabbits. The golden pheasants and rabbits were kept in 2 cages. The other leather goods were directly placed on the ground for sale. Because the old hunter's items were always cheaper than the others, many people came to buy from him. Moreover, they all seemed to be acquaintances, so they didn't bargain much. Some of the other people's business had just started, but the old hunter's items were all sold out. After selling his goods, the old hunter packed up and went to a nearby shop to buy some salt, a jug of wine, and some cloth. Then he prepared to go back. "Uncle, please." Xiao Pingan walked out from the side of the street and stopped in front of the old hunter. He bowed to the old hunter. "What can I do for you, little brother?" The old hunter hung the wine gourd on his waist and asked. Xiao Pingan smiled. "I saw Uncle selling things on the street just now. You sold them faster than others, huh?" The hunter uncle laughed heartily. "Every item costs a little less. We're all old customers, so there's no need to be so calculative. With this little effort, I can go up the mountain to hunt a leopard and make up for everything. Little brother, if there's anything you want, I can leave it for you the next time I hunt. Uncle is a forthright person. Do you know where there are tigers in the nearby mountains?" "Of course there are an MT dumb insect. Why do you ask?" The old hunter was curious. "To be honest, I want to go into the mountain to see what the tiger looks like. I want to observe it closely. I wonder if Uncle can take me into the mountain to have a look. Just treat it as me hiring Uncle to take me into the mountain. I'll give you some of money." The old hunter's face suddenly became serious. "Don't joke with me, little brother. That dumb insect might kill you if you see it. Are you tired of living?" "Uncle, don't worry. I'm not tired of living. I just want to see what the tiger looks like. I'm a painter, but the tiger I draw doesn't look like a real one. People always laugh at me, so I want to see it." "Little brother, you're a painter?" The old hunter's face suddenly showed a bit of respect for an intellectual. "This is my drawing of a buffalo. I'll give it to you as a gift." Xiao Pingan took out a framed drawing of a buffalo and gave it to the old hunter. The old hunter wiped his hands on his clothes and took the drawing. He opened it curiously and then praised, "Not bad, not bad. This old buffalo is really good. Little brother, you're good at drawing, but it's still too dangerous to go into the mountain to see the tiger. I'll be harming you if I take you there." "Uncle, listen to me. I don't want to go in front of the tiger. I'm not that brave. I just want to see the tiger in the mountain. I just want to build a wooden hut on the tree. I'll look at the tiger from the hut and make something to attract the tiger. If the tiger can't come up to the hut, I won't be in danger." The old hunter's expression changed. He touched his bearded chin and thought for a while. "Build a hut on the tree and look at the tiger from the tree. That's fine. But little brother, are you sure you want to go?" Xiao Pingon nodded with determination. "I've made up my mind. I must go." "Okay, then follow me. I'll take you there," the old hunter said straightforwardly. Only 3 days later, a small tree house appeared on a mountain called Immortal Peak, which was more than 50 li away from Tianai City. The tree house was built on the crown of a tall Phoebe more than 10 meters above the ground. The trunk of the Phoebe was thick and straight. Tigers couldn't climb up. Tigers often appeared near Immortal Peak. The old hunter and his son worked together with Xiao Pingon to find a place for Xiao Pingon. Xiao Pingon gave the hunter uncle a sum of money and asked the hunter uncle to send him food and ink every 3 days. If he hunted a pheasant or hare, he could also send it over and treat it as selling it to him. Here, he used pheasants and hares to lure the tiger. The old hunter agreed at once. Xiao Pingon's request was easy. Moreover, Xiao Pingon didn't want them to work for nothing. On the day Xiao Pingon lived in the tree house, the old hunter caught a pheasant and tied it to a nearby tree. He then sprinkled some of its blood nearby, saying that it would attract the tiger. After that, Xiao Pingon waited for the tiger on the tree. Chapter 116. The pheasant was tied to another tree more than 30 meters away from Xiao Pingon's treehouse. It was surrounded by grassland, and nothing could block Xiao Pingon's sight. The pheasant chirped and paced back and forth on the grassland uneasily. It even flapped its wings, wanting to fly away. After the old hunter and his son left, the forest became noisy and quiet. Xiao Pingon sat cross-legged in the treehouse with his eyes closed, waiting patiently. He really treated himself as a person who had returned to the origin. He had made up his mind to train his painting skills to the extreme. Back then, Li Guozian had sacrificed so much to draw the tiger. The determination he had made was truly amazing. Tigers weren't good at climbing trees, but in this forest, there were too many poisonous insects and ferocious beasts that could climb trees. Leopards could climb trees, poisonous snakes could climb trees, and poisonous insects could climb trees. Settling down in this forest to watch tigers in this environment was equivalent to disregarding life and death. This spirit was the foundation of a person's success. There were a few biscuits and 2 water bottles in the treehouse. These were Xiao Pingon's food. There was a clear stream nearby, which could solve the water problem. If he wanted to relieve himself, he could only come down from the tree and go to the nearby grassland to relieve himself. Compared to the Cho clan, this life was not much different. He had completely become a primitive man. For the first 2 days, the pheasant was chirping, and Xiao Pingon did not even see a single hair of the tiger. On the morning of the 3rd day, Xiao Pingon was sitting in the treehouse with concentration. Suddenly, he felt that the forest outside suddenly became quiet. A dense, killing intent faintly reverberated in the forest. The pheasant that was chirping on the grassland suddenly stopped chirping. Xiao Pingon suddenly opened his eyes. On a tree not far away, a flock of birds suddenly flew up in fright. The grass shook, and with a tiger's roar, an incomparably majestic white tiger rushed down from the nearby hillside. It was not an exaggeration to say that a tiger followed the wind with its imposing manner. It pounced down with a gust of fierce wind. The pheasant was so scared that it curled up into a ball. When it saw the tiger pouncing over, it flapped its wings and wanted to fly away. However, just as the pheasant jumped up, the tiger leaped into the air and opened its bloody mouth. It directly bit down and pounced down. That ferocious tiger was fierce and domineering, carrying with it a wild and boundless life force and the aura of the king of beasts. Its eyes were filled with killing intent, and its movements were firm and powerful. Every pore on its body exuded a bloody, masculine, and powerful aura that was difficult to describe. It was not a tiger kept in a zoo. nor was it a tiger kept in a cage. It was a living beast that could tear apart all prey and enemies at any time. When you see that tiger, you will know what it means to have the temperament of a true king of beasts. After the tiger pounced on the pheasant, it immediately got into the grass and disappeared. However, the moment when it pounced on the pheasant had been deeply imprinted in Xia Pingan's mind. Xia Pingan felt that a certain nerve in the depths of his heart had been touched, but he was unable to say what he wanted to say. In the end, he only took out a drawing paper and a pen, grasping the feeling in his heart in the wooden house. He drew several pictures in a row, wanted to show that feeling on paper. However, no matter how he drew, Xia Pingan always felt that the tiger he drew could not express that feeling in his heart. It always lacked something. Xia Pingan used to think that his paintings were good enough. However, after drawing a few pictures of tigers, he realized that the tiger he drew still lacked something. That something might be what Li Guozian was looking for. The next day, the old hunter and his son came again. They brought Xia Pingan a rabbit and some pancakes. The rabbit was still tied near the tree. The old hunter and his son sprinkled some sheep's blood near the tree. That night, a wild wolf came. Xia Pingan threw a stone from the tree and shouted. Finally, the wolf was scared away. The next day, the tiger came again and quickly took the rabbit away. Xia Pingan memorized every movement of the tiger as it hunted. He kept drawing on the paper over and over again, trying to draw out the little thing that touched his heart. 2 days later, the old hunter and his son came again. Xia Pingan asked the old hunter and his son to bring him some ink and paper. He had used up all the ink and paper he brought. Xia Pingan had been drawing the tiger every day. He was learning from the tiger and pondering over the ferocious tiger. Even when he was dreaming or sleeping, he was thinking about the ferocious tiger's every move as it pounced on its prey. He was completely immersed in that state. He had completely forgotten that he was in the world inside the realm pearl. He had completely forgotten that he was in the realm pearl. He had completely forgotten that he was in the realm pearl. He had completely forgotten that he was in the realm pearl. He had completely forgotten that he was in the realm pearl. What shocked Xia Pingan was not only the image of the fierce tiger, but also the spirit of the king of beasts and the most primitive and surging strength of beasts in all living creatures. It was a kind of rhyme, a kind of comprehension, a kind of Tao, which was hard to put into words. Xia Pingan was completely immersed in it. The old hunter and his son would send something to Xia Pingan every 3 or 4 days. They would also check on Xia Pingan. Every time they came, they would see that Xia Pingan was either crazy or silent. In the beginning, the old hunter and his son felt that Xia Pingan's tiger drawings were more and more similar. Later on, when they saw the things that Xia Pingan drew, the old hunter and his son could not understand them at all, because the things that Xia Pingan drew became stranger and stranger. There were all kinds of messy lines. Sometimes there were mountains and flowing clouds. Sometimes there were swaying leaves or flowing streams. Sometimes there were even stripes on the tiger's body, a fierce light in its eyes, sunrise and sunset. The old hunter and his son even suspected that Xia Pingan was crazy. Xia Pingan stayed in the treehouse for 2 years. On this day, the old hunter and his son came to deliver something to Xia Pingan again. Then, the old hunter suddenly said, "Oh right, when I came out today, I heard that a few hunters in the neighboring village hunted a tiger on another mountain and are about to sell it." Xia Pingan heard this, and his heart skipped a beat. "Uncle, can you take me to see it? I want to buy that tiger." "Ah, you're leaving here. I'm going down the mountain temporarily. It's not cheap to buy a whole tiger. The most expensive part of that tiger is its skin, then its bones, and then its meat." When the old hunter said that it was not cheap, it was actually only relative to the people of this era. For Xia Pingan, the price of these wild beasts that were hunted in this era was not that expensive. If it was not a rare breed like the white tiger, a hunting tiger with a few holes or arrow holes on its body and most of its fur ruined was not much more valuable than a live cow. Of course, if there was a complete tiger skin that was not damaged, the price would be different. If one wanted a complete tiger skin, The difficulty of hunting a tiger would increase by more than 10 times, and the price of the tiger skin would be higher. It's okay, I still have some savings. I should be able to buy it. Seeing Xia Pingan being so straightforward, the old hunter nodded. Okay, I'll take you to ask how much it costs. Thank you, uncle. Xia Pingan followed the old hunter down the mountain. It didn't take him much effort to buy the tiger that was hunted. After buying the tiger, Xia Pingan stayed at the old hunter's house for a few days. During these days, Xia Pingan personally dissected the tiger bit by bit. After dissecting the tiger, Xia Pingan gave the tiger meat to the old hunter and took the tiger bone and tiger skin back up the mountain. Xia Pingan continued to draw in the treehouse. This time, he drew a skinless tiger and only the muscles on the tiger's body. Just the muscles alone took him half a year to draw. After that, he began to piece the tiger's bones together bit by bit and began to draw tigers with only bones on the painting. During this period, Xia Pingan did not stop observing the tigers on the mountain. After drawing the bones for a year, Xia Pingan came down from the tree wearing the tiger's skin. He dressed himself up as a tiger, and every day he would walk with his hands and feet like a tiger, fluttering, jumping, and imitating the tiger's every move. In this way, more than a year passed unknowingly. After more than a year, Xia Pingan took off the tiger's skin and started to practice martial arts in the forest. He was like a dragon leaping and a tiger leaping in the forest, walking as if he was flying. Xia Pingan began to draw again. He used stones, branches, trees on the ground, in the flowing water, in his mind, and in the sky. He drew whatever he saw. It was no longer limited to tigers. Everything in the world was in his painting. This day, Xia Pingan was drinking water by the stream, wearing the tiger's skin. When he was drinking water, the bushes beside him moved. A 2-meter-long tiger suddenly drilled out of the bushes as if it did not see Xia Pingan. It also came to Xia Pingan's side to drink water. Xia Pingan turned his head to look at the tiger, and the tiger also turned its head to look at him. The tiger bared its teeth and growled at Xia Pingan in a low voice. Xia Pingan stood up and kicked the tiger, causing it to flip over. The ferocious tiger roared and pounced over. Xia Pingan stretched out his hand and grabbed the skin of the ferocious tiger's neck as if he was pinching a cat. Then, he threw the tiger away. Xia Pingan stared at the tiger. The tiger was thrown to the ground a few meters away. It did not dare to look at Xia Pingan. Its body lay on the ground, and it slowly retreated. Then it rolled over and exposed its belly to Xia Pingan. At this moment, the silver bottle in Xia Pingan's mind broke, and the sun shone brightly. Xia Pingan laughed heartily and went down the mountain. When he passed by a county yamen at the foot of the mountain, he saw the yamen runners building a staircase to clean up the bird droppings on the yamen gate. They complained as they cleaned up. Those birds like to land on the eaves above the gate and defecate here every day. Cleaning up the bird droppings on the yamen gate had become a chore for these yamen runners. Even when the bailiffs were cleaning up the bird droppings, some pigeons flew over and landed on the eaves above the door. The bailiffs below shouted twice, and the pigeons flew away. Without shouting, the pigeons flew back. Ha! It's not difficult. I have a way to solve it. Xia Pingan said directly when he heard the yamen runner's complaints. Ah, what method do you have? A yamen runner asked when he saw Xia Pingan's disheveled hair. He looked like a mad scholar and had a special temperament. Go get me a brush, ink, and ladder. I'll show you. The brush, ink, and ladder were simple. They were available in the yamen. The yamen runners also wanted to see Xia Pingan's ability. Out of curiosity, they really found the brush, ink, and ladder. Xia Pingan placed the ladder on the wall under the eaves next to the county yamen. He took the brush and ink and climbed up the ladder. On the snow-white wall under the eaves, his brush flew like it was flying. In the blink of an eye, he had drawn an eagle owl. The condor owl that Xia Pingan drew looked as if it was going to fly out of the wall. It was beyond vivid and lifelike. When the last stroke was drawn, it landed on the eyes of the eagle owl. The pigeons that were previously standing on the walls and eaves were all startled and flew away as if they were fleeing for their lives. The surrounding sky became clear. Xiao Pingon came down from the ladder and laughed. He threw the brush and ink to the Yamen runners and left. The Yamen runners looked at the condor owl that was going to jump out of the wall and the birds that flew away in the blink of an eye. They were all shocked. Even the onlookers on the street were shocked. Why does that man look familiar? Right, that man is Li Guazian, a painter. I haven't heard about him for many years. The county magistrate came out of the Yamen when he heard the news. He looked up at the condor owl on the wall and then at the sky where there were no birds. He was stunned and hurriedly asked the Yamen runners to chase Xia Pingon. Before Xia Pingon returned home and the Yamen runners were still on the way, the world of the Boundary Pearl had been broken. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.